What's up, everybody? Welcome to the nation. I am the Outlaw John Rocha here. It used to be called the Outlaw Nation Show. It's just called the Nation now. You know, the kids are shortening the titles of everything nowadays. So why not me? I mean, they even took all kinds of stuff, all kinds of letters out of words. You sus now. You're not suspect anymore. Something is based. The kids are all over the place with their terms. And you know what? We used to have terms ourselves. We used to have a lot of our terms that drove the adults at the time wild and crazy and didn't understand it. So it's all passed on. So I just thought I'd take out the outlaw part and make it the nation. That's what we're dealing with today. Wait, is this the right overlay? No, I did a new overlay. I guess I like this one better. Yeah, a little more of a light cream here, balancing with the blue. Thanks so much for joining me here live. I haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks. Been super busy with a lot of things, and last week I got a little bit under the weather, and so I wasn't really in the right place to be doing these live shows for a couple of hours or an hour and a half, depending on how things go today. But I'm excited to be back here live on the channel. Hope you saw my Final Destination Bloodlines trailer reaction that was up earlier today. That is up on the channel in case you want to schedule to watch it after you watch this particular show. Had a lot of fun reacting to that one. I was been a big fan of the Final Destination franchise, so it was really cool to jump in and see what they're going to do now, coming back into the franchise, and what new things they're going to add to this installment. That's going to add more, how can I say this, more history, more iconography, more symbolism, and more fun to the Final Destination franchise. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Sorry, I've had the glasses on for a few hours working on stuff, so it's a little foggy. I just clean it up real quick. Hope you all are doing well. It is Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday. And it's an interesting day. A lot of stuff going on in the world of entertainment that we're going to be talking about here on the channel, but including the James Bond stuff. You know, we've got two new producers coming on to do James Bond. What does it mean? What's the situation with them? Where are they already hunting? Have they already been hunting for a new James Bond? We'll talk about that. We're going to get into some of the comments from Ben Affleck talking about being Batman again and the superhero stuff and what it was like for him to do that time and what he's trying to do differently now with his life. We're also going to get into some more of the Snow White drama. We'll read the THR article and break down some of the stuff that is revealed in the article. And we're going to get into some of the Marvel updates stuff with Feige, maybe possibly being a little nervous about the Russos, and who wouldn't be after that Electric State debacle, and what the update is on Elizabeth Olsen, who revealed some shocking truths today about her future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Kristen Ritter chiming in, of course, Kristen Ritter chiming in saying, hey, I want back in as Jessica Jones, but we'll see. And if we've got 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again coming out tonight, which we will be reviewing tomorrow on the Geek Buddies. We'll do our spoiler reviews of both of those episodes tomorrow, so look for that tomorrow. And then our main show on Wednesday, Hot Mic on Thursday. And I guess I should announce this at the beginning of the show. I have officially locked down Spill the Tequila to come back to the Outlaw Nation. It will be on Tuesday nights. We're scheduling a Tuesday nights, I think, at 4:00. So it won't be next Tuesday. It'll be the Tuesday after. I want to work on some new graphics and possibly a new intro video, but that is what's happening. Winston A. Marshall coming back to permanently do Spill the Tequila every week on the Outlaw Nation channel. And we'll see, you know, if occasional things pop up, if Winston will jump on and as guests or as a guest to do whatever. We'll see, depending on the situations and the big news items that drop. But yeah, so now you've got yourself squared away here. I imagine I will be making the Outlaw Nation show a consistent thing on Monday nights, then Spill the Tequila, then you'll have a Geek Buddies episode on Wednesday, then Hot Mic, and then Friday another Geek Buddies episode. That's essentially what the schedule is now. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I'll drop occasional content or clipped out content from those shows, or maybe reviews from movies that are coming out. I think we've got the Unicorn film coming, Death of a Unicorn, coming out this week, and the Jason Statham film is coming out this week as well, which I have a invite to go see tomorrow night. We'll see if I end up going to see that one, but excited to see The Working Man. I think Christian saw it last night, and some other people saw it last night as well. I saw some reviews from friends of mine up on social media. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one, as I'm a big Jason Statham fan. And it's funny, a lot of the reviews now are saying it's better than The Beekeeper. So that gets me really excited to see what we're going to get in A Working Man. And David Ayer probably was like, okay, I'm going to do Beekeeper. I'm going to see how it goes with Jason. And then maybe figured out, okay, if I get to work with him again and it becomes a hit, then I've got other things I want to do with him and other ways of working with him that'll bring out the best in Jason, and that'll inspire me as a filmmaker. Because we know David has done some pretty incredible films like End of Watch and Fury, which I thought was one of the best films that hardly anyone ever talks about, which Amy Pascal produced as well. So there's all kinds of stuff that is going on all around the world of entertainment and all around my world as well. So thank you so much for joining me live. Already over 100 people hanging out with me live and hanging out with us live, really. Please make sure to remember that the Streamlabs and Superchats are open. You see the address right there, the Streamlabs address right there, and the Superchats. You know what to do to put those into the chat. I'll answer them as we go along throughout tonight's episode, and get into a lot of things as well. But how are you all doing? Are you doing okay? I know it's crazy out there. Look, it is crazy out there. As a son of immigrants to this country, legal immigrants to this country, I have a lot of agita happening for me as I look at the news every day, all day, and see the madness that's going on out there, and how we are like losing our plot as a country. We're supposed to be about helping each other, helping our fellow neighbors, coming together from different walks of life, different ethnicities, different social strata, different economy situations and economic situations, and helping each other rise above. And it doesn't feel like that's happening anymore. It feels like we're turning into a tell me who's the real criminal or tell me what this person has done kind of state. And that is just not conducive to living in a happy existence. Unfortunately, fear and paranoia is no way to run a country and no way to run your life. And so, unfortunately, that's where we're at now. And if anybody wants to ask about the signal situation, feel free to send in a Streamlab or Super Chat. Maybe I'll address it here on the show. But the show's about entertainment, so we're focusing on entertainment. And one more thing before we dive in. I was just reading before we started the show today. I know some of you may not be the biggest sports fans, but the news here that Russell Wilson has reached a 1-year deal to be the quarterback of the New York Giants for $21 million, including $10.5 million guaranteed. That must be nice to be a crappy quarterback in New York for $21 million. I imagine he won't see that $21 million. I imagine that's full. The other 11.5 is full of a lot of things he's got to hit performance-wise in order to get that. But at least he's guaranteed 10.5. And it's interesting because Jameis Winston just signed the contract there. So it'll be interesting. Those two will be battling with Tommy DeVito to see who is going to be the quarterback of the Giants. So fascinating situation there. I don't know what the Giants are doing. So clearly Aaron Rodgers is running out of options as well. Also, Stephon Diggs signing with the Patriots. Crazy money here. 3 years, $69 million coming off a season-ending ACL surgery. Let me just tell you this right now. The Commanders were never going to sign him to that money. So pretty amazing to see him signing for that incredible amount of money. $69 million. They clearly think he can help Drake May be a better quarterback. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. And of course, a big sad shout out to Juju over there at USC. Juju Watkins, she tore her knee last night during the NCAA tournament, tore her ACL rather in her knee last night. And she is out for the rest of the tournament and will be going through a lengthy rehab. And it's such a shame. I was really into the women's tournament this year. I was watching a lot of the games. So excited, all the fantastic teams and players, getting to know them a little bit more and seeing them work. And I was so looking forward to seeing if we were going to get a rematch of Juju versus Paige out of UConn, Paige Buchers out of UConn, and that's not happening now. But I got a quiet love for the Notre Dame women's team, so I'm kind of cheering for them. I think Hidalgo plays for them, and I've got a little thing for them right now because I just kind of like their style of basketball. So hopefully they might pull an upset here and win the whole damn tournament. Could be interesting to see. And also shout out to the Maryland Terrapins on the female side and the male side. winning two incredible tournament games. The Maryland women coming back in double overtime, getting that victory over the Bama ladies, and also Maryland, the men's team, getting that incredible victory over Colorado State the other night with that possible travel for a two-pointer there at the last second off the glass there by one of the Maryland players. So incredible stuff sports-wise. So I just wanted to kind of cover things real quick before we dove into the entertainment stuff going on here in our world. 150 of you joining me live. Thanks so much. Please remember to hit subscribe on the channel if you haven't done so yet. Would really appreciate it. And hit that like button. I haven't been pushing the likes thing as strongly as I need to be. So I'd like it if you all would hit the like button and give us some good numbers there on the like side of things. So thank you so much. And another reminder, the Streamlabs Super Chats are open. Send them in as we go along. You see it pinned in the chat. It's in the description of the video as well. All right, well, let's get to our first topic. Let's get into this thing. Let me bring up the picture, and that is, of course, James Bond. That is happening. That is the big news that broke this morning. I know it was leaked last week that this was a possibility, but today it became official that Amy Pascal, who you see there on the left, and David Heyman have been tapped by Amazon MGM to steer the new Bond film. The new Bond film, that is really an important thing to focus on. The new Bond film, not necessarily overall the new Bond franchise. So I wonder if this is a trial run for them to see if they're the right people to produce the franchise overall. Pascal will produce the film via Pascal Pictures, with Heyman producing via Heyday Films. And as the article says, it wasn't made immediately clear if they would be producing Bond titles. In today's announcement, Amazon MGM highlighted both Pascal and Heyman's track record in franchise filmmaking. Pascal, of course, is behind the Spider-Man franchise, with Tom Holland fronted films grossing over $3 billion. And David Heyman did the Harry Potter franchise before the new iteration that's coming here on your TV screens. And I thought the interesting comments that they made, some good statements. Amazon MGM Studios head of film Courtney Valenti, who was the Barbara Broccoli whisperer and the daughter of Jack Valenti. If you guys remember the old school, Jack Valenti was in charge of the MPAA for a very long time. She said, "We are approaching every creative decision with James Bond, which Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have so masterfully steered with the greatest sense of responsibility, part of an elite group of producers who have developed and managed massive film franchises to box office success and critical acclaim. Amy Pascal and David Heyman are two of the most accomplished, experienced, and respected film producers in our industry." And then Pascal and Heyman released a joint statement saying James Bond is one of the most iconic characters in the history of cinema. "We are humbled to follow in the footsteps of Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson, who have made so many extraordinary films, and honored and excited to keep the spirit of Bond very much alive as he embarks on his next adventure." So Bond reunites Pascal with Amazon MGM Studios. She is currently in post-production on the studio's upcoming film from Phil Lord and Christopher Miller here, directed, that is Project Hail Mary, rather, and previously produced the Luca Guadagnino directed film Challengers, which I personally loved and thought got screwed by the Academy last year for awards and nominations, especially that score. She's also produced the upcoming MGM Plus and Prime Video series Spider Noir, as well as Narnia for Greta Gerwig over there at Netflix, and Noah Baumbach's Jay Kelly, which is where she's working with with David Heyman on that. With David Heyman on that for Netflix. And of course, David Heyman was known for producing all 8 of the film adaptations of the Harry Potter books, but also did the Quentin Tarantino film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, produced Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story, Alfonso Cuarón's Gravity, and Greta Gerwig's Barbie, as well as the Paddington series and Timothée Chalamet's recent offering in Wonka a few months ago that did really well at the box office. And he is currently in pre-production on the Harry Potter television series and in post-production on Taika Waititi's adaptation of Kazuo Ishiguro's Clara and the Sun. But remember that previously Amy Pascal was the chairperson of Sony Pictures Entertainment, and during her tenure, she oversaw the release of Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall. Arguably, 2 of those 3 are 2 of the best, if not the best, Bond films ever made. So that's kind of a positive in her corner. But I do know that a lot of people push back on this. I saw some people online, I saw some people in other articles saying that they were not 100% happy with these choices. And they cited, some people were mad because of the emails from Amy Pascal from 2015. I'll update you on that, or give you some information on that for those of you who may not have caught that story years ago. And also produced the all-female Ghostbusters movie. So immediately people were like, oh no, they're going to make James Bond woke, all this stuff. And then David Heyman, they were dinging David Heyman for having produced Barbie, which people consider to be an anti-men feminist, some people rather, an anti-men feminist film. So there were some people that pushed back on it. But overall, I mean, these are two people with incredible track records coming together to produce a James Bond film. You have one British guy, one American woman, and both of them well-schooled in different types of franchises and being successful in different types of franchises. But also quite a few Best Picture nominees are produced by them. And also they produced a bunch of independent films and films outside of the superhero genre that have done well and have captured the mainstream audience's attention. So listen, you could do much, much worse than David Heyman and Amy Pascal. I personally like this combo coming together, and I like their energy, and I like the possibilities. And Amy's no wallflower, as I'll make you aware of in a little bit when it comes to her emails that have got her in trouble years ago. And David Heyman has just been this guy who's been consistently producing fantastic content. And I'll go through his stuff here because I want to make sure that you all understand it's more than just the franchise stuff. You got to understand a producer's tastes beyond just what they are successful with in a franchise, right? Here are some of the films that he has produced. He produced Ravenous, which a lot of us remember from the late 90s being one hell of an interesting film about cannibalism and what goes on with people when they get into a situation like that. And so this is a film that I thought was gutsy at the time with what they were looking at. And this is a hell of a film that was a quiet, like a closet favorite of a lot of people and a guilty pleasure of a lot of people as well. He also did Taking Lives, which was a pretty interesting Angelina Jolie movie. I Am Legend. He produced I Am Legend, the Will Smith film, which a lot of people do enjoy. I know there have been some critics and some detractors of I Am Legend, but overall, it was very well received. It got very well reviewed, and a lot of people enjoyed it as well. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which I think was a Holocaust film about a kid, and I think it was a Jewish kid there dealing with what he was dealing with during the Holocaust. 8-year-old son of the commandant of so the kid was German and begins a friendship with a Jewish boy on the other side of the camp fence. And it's a very interesting film that did. It was very moving and touching. And, you've got Holocaust films that come along all the time, but I like the energy of that one. And I liked the story and the sweetness within of what was being told. Yes, Man, one of my favorite last gasps of Jim Carrey as a comedic lead actor. Him and Zooey Deschanel had fantastic chemistry in that movie. And I thoroughly enjoy that film. Still watch that film. It's one of the rare films that I have saved on my MacBook Pro as a digital film that I will watch on planes or whatever, because I just enjoy the happiness and the joy of that movie. He also did We're the Millers, which is a really fun film with Jennifer Aniston and Jason Sudeikis and Will Poulter and Emma Roberts. That was very funny and had a lot of good sequences within it. Gravity, of course, what an incredible film, Gravity, with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, which I thought was really sweet, fantastic, and very well done as well. His Paddington series here. The less said about the Fantastic Beasts stuff, the better, but that could be studio interference, could be a number of things that were going on there. As I mentioned, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, really good stuff there. Marriage Story, the film he did that starred Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, that was a very intense film. A lot of people wanted that for awards. I think he got nominated for quite a few Academy Awards. White Noise was a bit of a letdown, but I did enjoy the movie. Even if the film didn't quite get there, I liked the idea and the chances that were being taken. Then Barbie, then Wonka, as I mentioned, and just now The Rivals of Mziah King, which is the new Matthew McConaughey film. A lot of people are coming out of festivals having seen that movie, saying that is the return of McConaughey again, and that this is another incredible film that people are going to love. So David Heyman, for his track record, he's about 90 to 95% success in theatrical films overall. And I think that's an incredible person to bring on to be in charge of the James Bond franchise. The question becomes, why is Amy Pascal involved here? Why wasn't it just David Heyman doing it all? And my guess is probably that David is very busy doing a number of things, including that Harry Potter TV series. So you bring in Amy to kind of pick up the slack. So they're both going to work together in tandem as equals to bring this ship into port and to pick a new James Bond and to do the next film, pick a director for the next film. So this is going to be very interesting how this process goes along. And didn't I tell you, if you guys watched the Hot Mic, didn't I say a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when this whole Broccoli and Wilson stuff went down, Jeff was thinking, oh, they're going to wait 18 months for Chris Nolan. But I said that to me, it just would seem odd that Amazon would make the decision now if they didn't have people lined up to take over. And sure enough, within 2 to 3 weeks, 2 people have taken over for Broccoli and Wilson to produce the next James Bond film. But as I said earlier, it's clear from all the articles that they haven't been chosen to produce the entire James Bond franchise going forward. It's just this particular movie for now. Now, they may make a subsequent announcement that they are in charge of the entire franchise and will be in charge of what they're going to do. But I imagine Amazon hasn't made a decision yet on what they want to do with the franchise fully. And so there's probably a lot of things that are being explored with the assistance of Pascal and Heyman, and also possibly Broccoli and Wilson, who, although they surrendered creative control of James Bond, you'd be really foolish not to at least reach out to them as consultants and see what their thoughts are going forward, because they've formed their own company, but they're still going to be involved in terms of producing the James Bond movies. They just won't have creative control over all of the franchise. So this is a interesting decision. And Amy has a bit more of a spotty track record with some of the decisions that she's made. But I mean, you can't argue she was in charge of the studio when two of the best Bond films were made in Casino Royale and Skyfall. She's been in charge of the Spider-Man stuff. And yeah, you want to ding her on the Venom stuff, but I think that's more like they have to put her name on there. I don't think she had creative control over Venom. And a majority of those Spider-Man films did really well or really worked, especially the most recent 2 animated ones that she was producing there with Lord and then Lord and Miller. I believe that's how it went down. And so, you know, she's got a very strong track record. The thing is, people are starting to ding her for these emails that she wrote years ago, which I don't know if you guys remember these emails from 2015, but they were pretty brutal emails that weren't that far away. Like, it's less than 10 years ago that this stuff happened. And she said some pretty unsettling stuff. Let me see if we can bring up the article and we can take a look at this real quick. Let's have a bit more of a balance on what we're looking at with these with Amy Pascal and put her in full context, so to speak. So she's a very successful producer for sure. But this was back in 2015. Shout out to Beatrice Verhoeven, one of the best people out there who's been doing this business for a while. But there were over 170,000 pieces of digital correspondence between these executives over here at Sony Pictures Entertainment. Michael Linden, the CEO, Michael Linden was involved. Former Motion Picture Group chairman Amy Pascal, Scott Rudin, Rooney Mara have been archived on WikiLeaks. And when you look at the best of, Scott Rudin ripped into Angelina Jolie. We don't need to worry about that. But Rooney Mara and asks Amy Pascal about Girl with a Dragon Tattoo sequel. And we saw about that. She says this is not going to happen. And they've been waiting for her to do it, but it's not going to happen. Then we have her talk. There was some interactions about Kevin Hart where they called him, he's a whore. That was Clint Culpepper, who was Screen Gems president. But you didn't see Amy Pascal pushing back or saying he's wrong to call him that. And so she got dinged a little bit for that. But this is one Amy Pascal did call Leonardo DiCaprio despicable because he dropped out of the lead role of Steve Jobs, which Michael Fassbender ended up playing down the road, but he simply changed his mind. Here's this interaction. Was this about the deal or did he change his mind? Wrote Jobs producer Mark Gordon, Amy Pascal in 2014. The latter, replied Pascal. Horrible behavior, said Gordon. Pascal agreed, calling it actually despicable. So look, she's a producer. You have another producer on the film who is upset about DiCaprio changing his mind and leaving you in the lurch for a lead. So you're going to have some harsh words at times in the situation like this. So clearly they were upset. And I don't want to ding her too hard on that. There was some stuff that went on as well with the Scott Rudin and Pascal. This is the big one where she joked about Obama, who I think was president at the time. Yeah, Jeffrey Katzenberg was set to host a breakfast that President Obama was going to attend. Pascal wrote to Scott Rudin, who is a very acid tongue SOB, Scott Rudin, and you can do research on him and the numerous situations he's found himself in that were quite unsettling. Pascal wrote to Rudin, "What should I ask the president at this stupid Jeffrey breakfast?" So you see clearly she's got the vitriol. She's no wallflower. And Scott Rudin said, "Would he like to finance some movies?" This is ironic because Obama, when he left office, him and Michelle Obama have been producing movies and TV shows for Netflix. So how ironic that they were making jokes about this, but clearly he ended up doing it, and possibly an FU to them for that. And Pascal replied, "I doubt it. Should I ask him if he liked Django?" Oof. Rudin responded, 12 years, implying 12 years of a slave, or The Butler, or Think Like a Man. And then Rudin said, "Right along. I bet he likes Kevin Hart." Whew. So those two, that is some pretty racist shit to be saying between two white people about a president, the first black president of the United States. And this is a window into how much of an asshole Hollywood really is and how many people are assholes behind the scenes, no matter how many of these touchy-feely, let's all hold hands and survive and be good people in the world movies that they do, because this is the kind of stuff that you hear. Whoa, what happened here? I can barely hear myself. Did I go out? Can you guys hear me right now? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me. That's weird. I don't know what happened there. All right. Did I go out at all? Can you guys hear me? Just want to make sure. Yeah, not surprised. Okay. Yeah, no, it's weird. Oh, there we go. Okay. We're back on now. Yes. All right. It must be something to do with control there. Anyway, all right, can still hear you. Okay, good. So anyway, that's the stuff there with her that you see. Those are some unsettling emails and some unsettling stuff to be said by someone who is about to go produce a James Bond film. But that being said, the last few years, she certainly apologized. She stepped down as the head of Sony Entertainment. Isn't that funny how it works? If you fuck up, you step down. That's usually how it works. Not nowadays, it seems, but usually in the past, that's how it's been. You make a mistake, you send terrible emails, you say racist shit, you step down and leave the job. But in the end, that's what she ended up doing. And then she went off on her own and was producing a lot of stuff on her own, and has been successful doing that, including the Spider-Man movies and the Spider-Verse movies. So shout out to her for that. So it's an interesting situation when you find yourself looking at these careers of these producers overall. Look, she's a woman in a male-dominated society. It doesn't mean that she can't act like a man, or well, I guess I don't want to say the term like that, but she can't it doesn't mean she can't be vitriolic or have an acid tongue just because she's a woman. That's, it's Hollywood's a rough business. Human beings are human beings, and you adapt to the environment if you want to survive in the environment. And certainly her being that way is an element of survival. It's not excusing the comments. Certainly some of those comments are pretty abhorrent. And certainly the Obama jokes, I don't understand that. A man who accomplished the presidency, you're going to reduce him to some kind of ridiculous caricature or stereotype. It just speaks volumes to the kind of interactions you have. And I wonder what she's done since that time to atone for that, beyond the apologies, beyond whatever. But I'm sure producing a film, the Spider-Verse films, which feature a black Latino mixed actor, character, and of course a black actor, and Shamik Moore. So, maybe there's been some stuff that has gone on and people have moved past it, and it is what it is. So we'll see. We'll see with it. Seth Rogen said Amy was the one who greenlit Superbad after getting turned down everywhere else. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You look at both David Heyman and Amy Pascal have taken chances on films, and it's been interesting to see their careers as producers, both inside the studio and outside the studio system, because clearly she doesn't have a long track record on her own because she's only been out since 2015. But certainly as the head of Sony, she was involved in quite a lot of films. Here on her own, she produced, as I said, the Ghostbusters, but she also did Molly's Game, which I thought was a damn good film with Jessica Chastain. And I think Idris Elba played the lawyer. Am I right on that? I don't want to be wrong on that. Yeah, Idris Elba and then Costner playing her dad, which I thought was a damn good film. If you guys have seen The Post, Steven Spielberg's The Post, which was an excellent film about what went on there with the Washington Post back during the Watergate situation. The Girl in the Spider's Web. I know some people didn't like that. I enjoyed that movie, and I thought Claire Foy did a nice job in that role. She's no Noomi Rapace. I mean, who can match Noomi Rapace? But I did think she was better than Rooney Mara, in my opinion. So, it's my own thing. She also produced Little Women, which I think is an excellent film from Greta Gerwig. I thought that adaptation was fantastic. And a quiet little good film with Michael Keaton and called Goodrich that's on Max, and Mila Kunis. Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis in this film, Goodrich. And she currently has the series that's out right now with Amanda Seyfried, Long Bright River, that is on Peacock. That is getting some good reviews here. Amanda Seyfried plays a Philadelphia police officer who is searching for her sister, who is an addict that has gone missing. So I'm looking forward to diving into that show and watching it as well. I got to get through Adolescence first. But yeah, so some good producers being involved in here. The question becomes, who the hell is going to play James Bond? I saw some people suggesting Tom Holland because she has worked on the Spider-Man movies. I think that would be ridiculous. I don't know. I don't feel like Tom Holland is the way to go. Sorry, I got a little something on my shirt. I don't feel Tom Holland. Was it up here? Yeah. I don't feel Tom Holland is necessarily the choice. What else? You look at Challengers, which is another film she produced. Josh O'Connor is someone that people have mentioned as a possibility for James Bond. Josh O'Connor would be real interesting as a James Bond. I could absolutely see that. He's not your typical movie star, handsome type guy, but he does have some really interesting abilities as an actor. I think as he's gotten older and kind of put a little weight on himself, put a little meat on his bones, becoming more manly, there is a very strong streak within Josh O'Connor that could be really interesting to see in James Bond. Look, no one saw Daniel Craig coming. Absolutely no one saw Daniel Craig coming. So the idea that you wouldn't be able to, this person has to be someone who's really well known, I think is a bit ridiculous. So I like the idea of Josh O'Connor as a possibility. James Norton has been mentioned, who I interviewed about the James Bond situation years ago, in 2020, I think, or 2021. And so that's a interesting possibility of James Norton to be as James Bond. But there's so many different choices, including Aaron Taylor Johnson. But of course, coming out of that Craven debacle, is his star a little bit dimmed? Is his possibility to be Bond a little bit hurt? So I will be fascinated to see who they choose. It is going to be male. It is going to be British or Scottish or Irish. So that's going to be the first big step. I don't think. Well, I mean, maybe they'll get a director first, and then they'll go from director to actor. That could be the possibility in the way they go. But I think you have to. The next step is casting your James Bond, right? Once you get the overall producers, then you cast a James Bond. Once you have that James Bond, you look for directors who want to work with that James Bond. You look for writers who want to write for that James Bond, and you create the next James Bond movie, which is all they're essentially tasked to do right now, is just create the next James Bond movie. So they don't have anything else on their resume that they need to be doing here. So I think they could, or on their job requirements that they need to be doing here from what we read in these articles. So I'm going to be real curious to see what we're going to say. Yeah, a lot of people like Theo James, Clarissa. I know that's a big one for a lot of people. By the way, good to see you, Clarissa. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me live. Thanks to all of you, 270 of you hanging out with me live. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. You could be anywhere else. You could be watching your Daredevil, but don't do that yet. You could be doing all kinds of things, but I appreciate you hanging out with me as well. Dev Patel, certainly. There's a lot of people that they have looked at where's the one? The next James Bond? Is it here? Yeah, here's let's go through this real quick. Let's have some fun real quick before we move on to the Snow White situation. All right, so what have we got here? Let's see. Am I looking at this thing? Okay, let's... what's the right? No, that's not there. Yeah, all right. Maybe. You know what? No, I'm going to go with this one. I like this one better. So let's go a little bit. Let's zoom in. Ding, 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 ding. All right, here we go. So you got what? You got Theo James. Clarissa just mentioned him. James Norton, as I mentioned, I've talked to him. He's got a new series coming out really soon. Harris Dickinson, I don't really see that possibility necessarily. And there's Josh O'Connor. I mean, Josh O'Connor, interesting look. Interesting look. Could be interesting James Bond for sure for a lot of reasons, but a distinct face and distinct energy. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on him being James Bond, even when they were saying that he had the offer on the table and didn't quite take. Paul Mescal, Gladiator 2 was fine. I thought he was good in the film, not great in the film, but he certainly has a brutal energy. So if you wanted to go with that energy, continuing it from the brutality of Daniel Craig, you could do worse, much, much worse than Paul Mescal could bring an Irish brogue to it, which would be interesting. And I don't know, have there been any Irish James Bonds? I thought we had an Australian one, a British, some British ones and Scottish ones. I don't know if we've had an Irish James Bond, so that could be interesting. Callum Turner, a lot of people like him from the Fantastic Beasts movie, and certainly David Heyman being the producer of the Fantastic Beasts movies. Callum Turner is a possibility to jump into the role. Regina Page, we haven't heard too much about since he left season 1. I know he was in that Dungeons and Dragons movie, but there hasn't been much. And The Gray Man, not a lot of people like that movie. So I don't know. He's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. Dance some interest. I think this is very possible considering or depending on what we get in F1. Is he going to stand out and be incredible in F1? Or is he going to be overshadowed by Brad Pitt? So there's a very distinct possibility that Damson Idris is the choice. And of course, if it is the choice, the anti-woke motherfuckers are going to come crawling out from under their cabinets and under their beds there into the lights. And they're going to be screaming and making their YouTube videos about it. No black James Bond, you see, they went woke. And so, far be it for them to consider that they actually chose the best actor to play it. They will just automatically assume that it is a woke situation so they can make that money, the foolishness of all of that nonsense there. But I like the idea of Damson Idris. I need to watch Snowfall. A lot of people really like Snowfall and liked him in Snowfall. Black Mirror was good. Swarm, I saw a few episodes of Swarm and thought he was excellent in that. And this guy has got a lot of athletic ability, being a former football and rugby player. Henry Cavill, a lot of people think Cavill could be it, but I don't know. We saw him in Man from U.N.C.L.E. and it wasn't that sexy of a performance or cool of a performance. I thought it was a good film for the most part, but didn't have that electricity that you want to see in a film like that. So, I mean, I like Henry Cavill a lot. I enjoyed Man of Steel, but I don't know if James Bond is the choice necessarily for him. Aaron Pierre, no way that happens now with the Lantern stuff. Richard Madden, I think he's too short to play it. Henry Golding, I know a lot of people thought that's a possibility, but he's kind of been in and out over the last few years. So I don't know if people are still thinking about him. I don't know who Lucien Laviscount is. I've never seen Emily in Paris. Dev Patel. I mean, Monkey Man is, if you haven't seen Monkey Man, which I think is on Peacock now, I highly recommend you all watch that movie. He is a badass in that film, and he leads that film so strongly. So Dev Patel is not out of the realm possibility. You're still going to get the anti-woke people being upset because it's an Indian person, a person of color. But to me, this is not a bad choice. I like Dev Patel, and I thought he was great. I enjoyed The Green Knight, and I thought he was damn good in Monkey Man. So Andrew Garfield, that could be interesting. I don't see it. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would necessarily enjoy playing James Bond. He's much more of a cerebral actor, so I think it would be weird if he played James Bond. I mean, honestly, I would love this. It's never going to happen, but I would certainly love Tom Hardy to be someone they legitimately look at to play James Bond. That could be super interesting for sure. Daryl McCormack. And Peaky Blinders. I remember in Peaky Blinders. I mean, interesting. I know he was good in that Emma Thompson movie. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sold on the Joe Alwyn thing, even though you get a little bit of the anti-Taylor Swift people on board. Jacob Elordi. Yeah, maybe. be be the second Australian person to play him. George Lazenby being the first one in Her Majesty's Secret Service. Jamie Dornan is interesting. I don't know where Jamie is right now as an actor in terms of status and what have you. But yeah, sure. I loved him in Belfast. Certainly can play comedy, can play serious stuff. He's got that heft, that good looking movie star jaw and heft. So he's a man. I think that could be possible. We did Lashana already. Jonathan Bailey, Tom Ellis. Yeah, I don't know if I see any of these necessarily. Oh, John would be great, but I don't see that. Will Poulter's a possibility, right? I mean, as I said, David Heyman produced We're the Millers. Will was great in that, but look, I mean, Will's got that kind of face that could be an interesting face for a James Bond movie, and he plays great status. Like he's such a, put upon a scared, awkward kid in We're the Millers, but you see him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and he's incredible. You see him in these other films where he really gets to show his strength and his power, and he's fantastic. So, I mean, Will Poulter would be a real possibility overall. Jack Lowden, I don't know. I mean, I like the idea. I think if you did a James Bond series, Jack Lowden would work, but I don't know if Jack Lowden works theatrically necessarily. I mean, he is Saoirse Ronan's significant other. He was in Dunkirk, but I don't remember anybody in Dunkirk aside from Tom Hardy and no, not Joseph Quinn, Tom Hardy and who else? Harry Styles, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think these are the choices overall. I think those are the top choices in my opinion. So, there are connections to Amy Pascal. There are connections to David Heyman. So maybe possibilities here that someone who has already worked in one of their films could be who they're looking at for James Bond. Then the question becomes who's going to direct the movie and who's going to write the movie. Are they going to bring back like a Martin Campbell who has done some good installments of James Bond? Are they going to find? They can't get Nolan. Nolan wants final cut. I don't think Heyman and Pascal will give him final cut. So are there other directors wandering around out there that could really work for the situation? So we'll see. We will see when it all goes down overall. Cosmo Jarvis, I don't know if I see that, Sergio. That's a good suggestion. Warfare is coming out. I want to see Warfare and see how he does in that movie. But yeah, Edward Berger, Matt, it's a good choice. Edward Berger with any of these actors, I think would be exciting. But yeah, so we will see. But kind of shocking to see that these are the two they chose. But I think it also makes a lot of sense. So we'll see. And of course, I'll have more to say about it on the Hot Mic and the Geek Buddies and what have you later on this week. But that was some comments I made. And look, you're looking at the Harry Potter kids. No one's mentioned Daniel Radcliffe. I don't think that could ever happen. No one's mentioned Rupert Grint. I don't think that could ever happen. But Emma Watson as a villain in a James Bond movie, or as a Bond girl, but not the same way, like kind of like Vespa, like Eva Green, like someone who is in the film the whole time. I think that could be super interesting to have Emma Watson in a James Bond movie, so possibilities. Moneypenny. Oh my God. Emma Watson as Moneypenny would be fantastic. And I don't want to lose Ben Whishaw as Q. And Ben Whishaw, of course, was the voice of Paddington in all the David Heyman produced Paddington movies. So hopefully we keep David Whishaw as a part of it. I would be so about that. So we will see. All right. We'll keep a pin in it. Oh my God. Oh, Jim. Great. Olivia Colman as M. Woo! I mean, you still have Ray Fiennes, so he's not done. But man, that would be so interesting to see Olivia Colman as M. I would love that idea, honestly. All right. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Keep tabs on it as we go along. 250 of you joining me live. Thank you so much for taking time on this Tuesday evening to hang out with the Outlaw. I'm just a schnook here doing my thing, having some fun, talking about the world of entertainment. And going on and on about it. So, but just a reminder as we move on to the next story, the Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. If you want to send in some love, send in some support, please make sure to do so. It's so important to have your voice heard. And one way you can guarantee to have your voice heard is to send in your Streamlabs Super Chats. I will read it on the air and answer it and give you my 2 cents on anything you ask about. And everything you can always, you guys know I'm an open book. You know, you can always ask me about anything and I'll give you an honest response. Never hold anything back for the most part. So, all right, let's move on to this next situation here. Where is it? Where are the ladies? There they are. There it is. Snow White's and the situation with that film with Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. This is a really interesting read. We're going to go through this article and hit the high points, but it's a pretty brutal read. And I think I came away from this thinking that there's something else going on here besides someone who's not that media savvy. And I kind of hinted at this on yesterday on the Christian Harloff show, which I'll be hosting, by the way, on Thursday with Steph and Mike. So that's going to be a lot of fun, 3 of us hanging out. But I mentioned the idea that maybe Zegler is the kind of person who is doing this stuff when she has the biggest platforms to do this stuff on purpose. And I came away from this article even more convinced that that is the philosophy and the strategy that she is employing here in the situation. But let's read through this article real quick from THR. Let's bring it up on the screen so everyone can read along. It's called Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler, written by Tatiana Siegel, who's one of our favorite writers there on the Hot Mic. And personally, between the two of us. She writes on August 12, 2024, 3 days after Rachel Zegler hit the stage at Disney's D23 fan event to introduce the first official trailer of Snow White. She thanks support. Oh, wait, what's going on back there? Oh, I don't want that one. It's a bit too busy for you all, the background. Let me slow this down a little bit. There we go. That's much more chill. So I don't like to give anybody conniptions or anything. Anyway, all right. After Zegler hit the stage at Disney's D23 fan event to introduce the first official trailer for Snow White, she thanks supporters effusively in an X post for driving the teaser to 120 million views in 24 hours. Think about that. 120 million views in 24 hours. Why don't you just leave it alone? Thank the fans. Tell them that you are so excited for them to see their version of Snow White. And that you are ready to show them this movie when the time comes. But then a minute later, she added as an afterthought in the same thread, and always remember, free Palestine. So that was the first kind of situation where there were some alarm bells going off at Disney. That addendum, which amassed 8.8 million views, nearly 4 times the number for the initial post, quickly made the rounds, with many inside the studio expressing shock that the Snow White star would commingle the promotion of its $270 million tentpole with any kind of political statement. And then a Disney executive raised the studio's concerns with Zegler's team while the film's producer, Mark Platt, flew to New York to speak directly with her. But the actress, whose relationship with the studio began to unravel in 2022 during a contentious West Side Story Awards season campaign and continued as she trashed the beloved original Snow White, stood her ground, and the post remained. The post, they're saying, they're basically implying this next sentence that the post behind the scenes, the death threats towards Zegler's co-star Gal Gadot, who is Israeli, spiked because of this post, and Disney had to pay for additional security for the mother of 4. So maybe not necessarily because of it fully, but certainly played a part in it because, of course, Gal Gadot being Israeli and all of that was going on, or still going on, obviously, the conflict and the battle and the anger that's going on and what's happening in that area of the world. So there's so much mixed in here, but I am just surprised. The Mark Platt, see, the thing is, people have been pushing this narrative, and I've certainly said it as well, bought into it, that she's young and, we got to extend her grace. And I certainly said that yesterday, but after reading this article, I have second thoughts about that point of view. I have second thoughts about that approach, because it's very clear to me after reading this article that Rachel Zegler knows exactly what she's doing and doing it this way on purpose. All right. One insider said she didn't understand the repercussions of her actions as far as what it meant for the film, for Gal, for anyone. 3 months later, following the presidential election, Zegler posted, "Fuck Donald Trump," and made Trump supporters never know peace on Instagram. Disney had had enough at that point, given that the star was signaling to half the potential audience of an already troubled film plagued by costly reshoots to stay home. Again, Mark Platt made the case again to Zegler. After a back and forth, she began working with a social media guru paid for by Disney to vet any post before the film's March 21st bow. Disney declined comment, and so did Zegler for this particular article. So let's stop there. That's a fascinating situation. So she basically was told twice by the producer. Let me bring, there we go. She was basically told twice by the producer that this is a bad idea. Stop doing this. You're putting the film in jeopardy, making these comments. Now, I get it. If you want to, it's your right on your personal social media to say whatever you want to say. Lord knows, y'all know I post all the time political stuff on my social media. It's my decision to do so, and I know the repercussions of it all. But if I was responsible for a show or a movie of this kind of caliber in this situation, I wouldn't be posting stuff like this that would be vitriolic necessarily or cost people coming to see the show. When I know that when I tweet about political stuff, I know that I'm sacrificing potential viewers, subscribers, and listeners to my content. I made a deal with myself about that long time ago. All right. I know that I'm not at where I need to be or would like to be YouTube wise. And I think because of my comments and my outspokenness, that's one of the main reasons, or one of the big reasons why I haven't. But, I like to use my platform to do with it as I wish. And I get that Rachel sees it that way. But when other things are involved, like a movie's success, your fellow co-star's safety, possibly, the amount of money that a studio is investing in a film like this, and especially when you were on a red carpet saying, why did you take the job in Shazam 2, that you needed the money, that was your response, then why are you messing with your money by making these comments and these political comments when you're in the midst of promoting a movie? So it isn't the smartest decision. Did people overreact? Did people go crazy? Yes, but then again, she commented on two really hot button issues, and so it would be foolish to think that people weren't going to react to this in a very strong and decisive manner. So when I look at this, I do think the blame here is on Rachel, but I also think Rachel knows exactly what she's doing. She's using the biggest platforms to push her agenda forward and her political views forward, which she has every right to do. But then again, people have every right to call her out about it, and people have every right to say that it's a mistake. So now that the film's dismal opening weekend of $87 million worldwide is in the rearview mirror, Burbank brass are evaluating what went wrong. To put Snow White's global box office haul in perspective, it's about $34 million less than Joker Folie à Deux in October, but with a bigger budget by $70 million. And that's probably being generous, because I bet it's much more than $270 million now with all the reshoots and the marketing and all the different events they put on. You can't say that a live action remake of the most iconic film in the vault that cost $207 million and has been reshot multiple times, opening to $50 million is okay. The math does not work. That movie should be $1 billion movie, said an executive at a rival studio when the film was tracking at 45 to 55. It ended up even going lower at 43. Domestically, the Disney Zegler standoffs underscore the challenge Hollywood studios face as they attempt to rein in stars who court controversy on social media. You see, you got to know how to court the controversy to keep people watching your stuff, not make people not want to watch your stuff. For her part, Godot kept her comments on geopolitics limited to offering support for the civilian hostages taken during the October 7th Hamas attack, and did not mix that message with the promotion of the film. Zegler apparently had already strained nerves of both the studio and Steven Spielberg's Amblin Partners when she complained on social media that she wasn't invited to the 2022 Oscars as the star of the Best Picture nominee, West Side Story, a film distributed by Disney. Now, I remember being on her side when she complained about this, because certainly lead actors of other films who've been nominated for Best Pictures do show up, even if they haven't been nominated themselves, to the Oscars. So I thought it was an odd thing. But sources say she had just begun production on Snow White in London, and Sean Bailey, then president of Walt Disney Studios, declined to cut her loose for the Tallyhouse, which is legitimately stupid. Why would you not let your lead actress of your upcoming film go to the Oscars, drum up press for your film, and speak about it on the red carpet? Well, maybe because you think she's going to say something that's not necessarily going to be very well received by people who are making Snow White. Maybe. After Zegler aired her grievances publicly, though, the Academy provided her with a ticket, even though she wasn't nominated, and Bailey was gone from the job by February of 2024. Months later at D23, she criticized the original 1937 Snow White, noting that the prince literally stalks the heroine. One top agent says that was the moment that Disney allowed Zegler to control the narrative. The first time she shoots her mouth off, you nip it in the bud. Instead, the studio said nothing, and purists began to revolt. And we saw that already, how many people were against it because they loved the original Snow White. And as time went on, Disney became increasingly loath to weigh in on anyone's speech, considering that the studio was being sued in 2024 by actress Gina Carano for her comments around The Mandalorian. I didn't know The Mandalorian. I didn't know Gina Carano could be connected to this in any way, but there you go. Jeff Bach, who's the box office analyst at Exhibitor Relations, said they say all press is good press, but in Snow White's case, they were unabashedly wrong. Too much negative controversy surrounded this film for years, and it didn't help that the reviews were subpar, likely rendering this latest live-action adventure to Disney Plus for many potential ticket buyers a possible saving grace, a feeble marketplace where Snow White could stay a while, as many families have, despite the lackluster debut. Many additional factors contributed to the film's woe, including COVID-related production delays. Disney live-action movies, which were once reliable, have looked shakier, with Dumbo, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil bombing, and Peter Pan and Wendy getting shipped to Disney Plus. But they do clarify that there is no bad blood between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. That sources say the actors got along well during production, and things only got awkward during the run-up to the release. Zegler referred to Gadot as, quote, a professional pageant queen in one Instagram reply that followed their joint appearance as presenters at the Oscars this month, considered a dismissive way to describe a fellow actor. Some observers say Disney fueled the perception of a feud by scheduling the actors for separate events during the junketing. They, at the premiere on March 15th, where there was no traditional red carpet, they were kept mostly apart. And inside the El Cap, Zegler sat 2 rows in front of Gadot. But by that point, Disney had given up hope that the film could overcome the backlash that had been brewing like a fairy tale cauldron for years. So, yeah, I mean, this is, I think, the genesis of the core of what I'm trying to say here. In the past, I have been like, well, she's young, give her grace, she makes mistakes, we all mess up. But after reading this article, it is very clear that this is a woman who is very outspoken, is not ashamed or nervous or self-conscious about being outspoken. She believes in what she believes in. She wants to speak on the issues that she wants to speak on. And if you're going to cast her in a movie, this is a very clear sign. If you're going to cast her in a movie, you're going to run the risk of her saying the things that she's going to say and commingling it with the promotion of your film. So if you're going to do a big Hollywood movie, just know that this is a chance you're taking with Rachel Zegler at this point in her life. It doesn't mean that in her 30s, she might become have a little more perspective or circumspect on the situation and do her promotions in a certain way that don't necessarily bring up political issues. But look, we live in a very political world now. I mean, everything is political. Everything. I know years in the past, people were like, why you got to make everything political? Everything is political now. Everything is tribalist. Everything, people look for stuff all the time in everything. And both sides do it, right? The second you cast a person of color, it's not because they're the best actor. No, the anti-woke people immediately are like, no, it's because they're going woke. They're going woke. If it's not white, it's woke. And that's the nonsense that you have to deal with. And by the other side, there is also on the other side, they're like, well, why do we have to see another white person play this role? Why can't we see a person of color or a woman? You know, we talk about James Bond. A lot of people were clamoring for a person of color as James Bond or a woman as James Bond. So those are the things that we've seen here in the thing. So this is where we're at now. And this is what's going on in our world. So Rachel Zegler, who is way younger than me, way younger than a lot of these executives in Hollywood, although Snow White bombed, look at the reaction people had to Hunger Games. That did really well. And people loved her in that movie. People are coming out of Snow White saying she's the best. Overall, 99% of the people, I'm going to guess, 99% of the people coming out of Snow White say that she is the best part of the movie. So we may be dealing with a woman who is very aware of her talent, very aware of her ability, who is mature beyond her years, and she knows exactly what she's doing. And she's picking a fight with one of the biggest studios on the planet in Disney. And what used to be the old adage, right? Never mess with the mouse. Rachel Zegler has no problem messing with the mouse like she did in West Side Story and like she did here with Snow White. She is going to do what she wants to do. The fact that a very successful and very well-respected producer, Mark Platt, went to her twice to try to stop her doing this, and she refused him the first time and then acquiesced finally to get a social media guru the second time, that says volumes about how headstrong she is, how confident of her own points of view she is, and how willing she is to use her platform to highlight political issues that she thinks should be highlighted. Now, you can ding her if you want. You can come after her and be upset about it all. That's very much your right. But on the other side, you got to understand this is a woman who very much understands what she's doing and is quite happy doing it and isn't going to bend over backwards for anyone who is trying to make her be someone that she is not, or trying to silence her or take away her agency as she views it, or make her get in line. And she's just not going to do that. It seems like this is a very headstrong, determined, driven, ambitious, super talented person who is going to do what she wants to do. The devil be damned. So I come away from this in a completely point of view in my mind about her and what she's doing. Do I think it's right? That's a separate conversation. Business-wise, I don't think it's the smart move. Do I think it's right or not? It's a different situation. But sorry, I noticed cash in was turned around. I business-wise, I don't think it's a smart move because as we saw with Snow White, it causes problems for your film. The film already had issues going forward, but certainly she is the touchstone for so many people in bashing the film or not going to see the film. But Gal Gadot is the one getting all the backlash for being terrible in the movie. But Rachel knows she's damn good. So there is a very real possibility that Rachel Zegler goes through this stage in her career and she comes out the other side even more experienced, even stronger, and even more determined to be herself and speak her mind because she has a huge platform from which to do so. And when so many people just want to play it safe and don't want to say anything, I think it is refreshing to have someone who is willing to speak out on certain issues. And she is really good at what she does. And that is another element of why people listen to her, and people give it the table, both positive and negative. And so that's the way. So business-wise, I don't think it's the wisest move, but personal-wise, I think she's got a right to say whatever the hell she damn well pleases on her social media about whatever the hell she damn well pleases. Everyone's got a right to do that. She's not free from consequences, but she's certainly free to speak her mind. It's going to be up to her. I think there's a Hunger Games sequel coming. It's going to be up to her to decide if there's a realization that she can't always speak on these hot button issues because they do affect the success of a movie and they do affect other people's pocketbooks, right? But by the same token, you cast me in your film, you knew what you were getting. So we'll see what it means down the road for her. But it's an interesting situation now when you look at it, and especially in light of this article, how much was going on behind the scenes to try to stop her from speaking out about these things and causing trouble. Sergeant Slaughter says Gina did. Oh yeah, Gina had the right. Gina spoke her mind. Sergeant, what's wrong with you? Do you have a trouble connecting two ideas? Gina spoke her mind. She had freedom of speech. She didn't have freedom from consequences. And Disney, just like they did with Rachel, sent her numerous people to try to talk Gina down from doing what she was doing to try to stop her posting the stuff while she was a part of Star Wars. She didn't want to do it, and she posted it out, and then they let her go, or they didn't renew her contract, whatever their excuse or their reason, or whatever the reason was. So, no, Gina had a right to speak her mind. Gina didn't have a right to keep her job. That you don't get a right to keep your job. You get a right to speak your mind. You don't get a right to keep your job, And so that's the difference. Rachel Zegler spoke her mind, and Snow White didn't do well. So there's not going to be a Snow White sequel, And so because of that, she's gone from doing Snow White. I don't know if Disney's going to work with her ever again down the road. And I don't know if the Hunger Games is under the Disney banner or under the WB banner. I don't know what it is. So for me right now, I don't know which studio it's under now because everything's moving around all the time. So I really doubt Disney will work with her again, and that's in essence tacitly, indirectly firing her because they don't want to work with her again. So, that's the situation there. So Sergeant Slaughter, who I grew up respecting very well. And I know you're no Sergeant Slaughter. You're wrong on that. Gina had every right to speak her mind, and then Gina had every right to get the consequences that came with them. Welcome to the real world. That's how it works. It always worked that way. Oh, Lionsgate is Hunger Games. Okay, yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks for telling me that. I always forget. So we will see in the end what the results will be. And look, Rachel's been successful on Broadway in Romeo and Juliet. I think she just got cast in the London production of Evita. So for all the complaints about her speaking out about this stuff or saying the wrong thing on the red carpet, you're not going to stop that woman from working. So, go ahead, make your content, make your money complaining about it, do all your thumbnails about it, and do your AI photos of her or whatever. Not that I encourage that. I think it's terrible. But she's going to keep working no matter what you say, no matter what you do. She is going to keep working, keep making her money, keep being successful. And she's probably going to win a lot of awards. She's going to outlive your YouTube channel and have a bunch of awards on her mantle. That's the honest truth at the end of the day, whether these people like it or not. So, I don't know if it'll be in Hollywood, maybe in Hollywood. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. It'll depend on the project. People have short memory spans, and it'll depend on the situation. And if she doesn't say anything controversial and it's a well-made movie, because that's the thing that kills Snow White. I don't think it's a good movie, like a great movie. It's an okay movie. It's fine. It's not great. It's not good. It's not fantastic. If it was great, good, and fantastic, the numbers would be way better. Way better. No matter what it was tracking at. If people went to see the movie and the other critics who didn't go to the premiere went to see the movie and loved it, I think the numbers would have been way higher and it could have more legs. But because it isn't, it's not. But don't be surprised that when it debuts on Disney Plus, that it breaks all kinds of viewing records. Don't be surprised by that. So, all right. Anyway, let's move on here. Keep sending in Streamlabs Super Chats. I know we got 10 of them, so I will get to them very soon. 10 of the Super Chats. We've got a few Streamlabs that have come through as well, which I really appreciate. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all the support, honestly. Trying to do more of these things live. And you guys sending in support, you guys sending in your love, it means so much to me, honestly, is it to keep going here. Almost 300 of you joining us live here, so very much appreciate that. So thank you so much for the love and the support that you give us here on the Outlaw Nation as we do all the content that we do. All right, let's move on to this story here. Batman, that's right, Affleck. Let's talk about it. Ben Affleck was in town, or in an interview, rather, with GQ magazine for a new cover story. Where he continued to reflect on what went wrong with his run as Batman in Zack Snyder's DC universe. Of course, we're on I think today was the 9-year anniversary of Batman v Superman. What a different world we live in 9 years later, superhero was. It's kind of crazy. He debuted as the Dark Knight in 2016's Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice, then reprised the role for Justice League and The Flash. And Suicide Squad, right? He was in Suicide Squad. He told the LA Times in 2022 that playing Batman was, quote, awful and the worst experience. Now he's opening up more about why. He said there are a number of reasons why that was really an excruciating experience, and they don't all have to do with the simple dynamic of, say, being in a superhero movie or whatever. I am not interested in going down that particular genre again, not because of that bad experience, but just I've lost interest in what was of interest about it to me. but I certainly wouldn't want to replicate an experience like that. A lot of it was misalignment of agendas, understandings, expectations, and also, by the way, I wasn't bringing anything particularly wonderful to that equation at the time either. I had my own failings, significant failings in that process and at that time. He goes on to say more here in this article and say, I mean, my failings as an actor, you can watch the various movies and judge, but more of my feelings in terms of why I had a bad experience, part of it is that what I was bringing to work every day was a lot of unhappiness. Right. We do know Ben was struggling with his addiction issues, and there was relationship stuff. So I wasn't bringing a lot of positive energy to the equation. I didn't cause problems, but I came in and did my job and I went home. But you've got to do a little bit better than that. And when he says that he had good moments he does say he had good moments on the set, like creatively his approach to Batman is quote a sort of older, broken, damaged Bruce Wayne. This is interesting, this quote here. What happened was it started to skew too old for a big part of the audience. Like even my own son at the time was too scared to watch the movie. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, we have a problem. Then I think that's when you had a filmmaker that wanted to continue down that road and a studio that wanted to recapture all the younger audience at cross purposes. Then you have two entities, two people really wanting to do something different, and that is a really bad recipe. I think this is a fantastic perspective to have about his time as Batman. You know, he was great in the role, I thought. I liked Affleck. I'm not a fan of BVS, even the Ultimate Cut, but the scene where he saves Diane Lane and destroys everybody in that warehouse, that is a fucking badass scene, dog. And I would have liked to have had more of a build up to the BVS film by having Batman have his own movie first and then lead up to the battle between Batman v Superman. But unfortunately, that didn't go down the way it did. And then we all know what happened with Zack and all of that. But I think it's important to know what he said at the end here is that Zack very much had a commitment to do an adult, possibly R-rated approach to the DC universe that was darker, that was more dove into the Dark Knight Returns kind of element than the Batman Year One type of element, even though there was some dark stuff in Batman Year One. But like overall, that was the thing. And so Warner Brothers overreacted, was scared they were losing the young kids. And clearly even Ben Affleck's own son was a microcosm example of the overall feeling that some of people of that age were feeling about these comic book movies. And the last thing you want is to alienate the younger audience from coming to see your movies. I loved what Snyder did for the most part. I'm a big fan of his Justice League movie. I loved BVS. I'm sorry, I loved Man of Steel. I did not like BVS. And I wanted to see more, but because I'm an adult, right? I don't know how I would feel if I was 10 years old seeing these movies. Would I like it? Would I feel drawn to see these Zack Snyder movies? I don't know. You know, I think Man of Steel is very hopeful, but I do. I know a lot of people want to denigrate that movie, but I think it's hopeful. But the other stuff was getting darker, you know, and so what was the pursuit? And look, Lois was going to die. I mean, it was going to go even darker. And so I think Ben saying it really clearly from the inside out that it was two entities at cross purposes is something that we probably all suspected, but now we have a really good piece of evidence from someone who was on the inside with all this stuff to let us know what was really going on and what ended up happening overall, and that he himself had a personal experience about it with his son in the situation. So, as I said, I love what Zack did, but I also can't fault that Warner Brothers was like, look, we're losing money here. People are turning on it. Social media is destroying us about these films. We got to make some changes. And of course, you got the horrible Joss Whedon, the Justice League, which was terrible. But Zack got to finish his thing, you know, and so I don't think we should pine for Zack to come back. Zack had his time. It was incredible. But the idea of wanting him to come back, it's never going to happen, I don't think. But I like that Ben came away with it with a different perspective. And I also think what Ben is saying here is something that is kind of slowly growing here. As these superhero movies start to falter and start to be less and less box office gold, you're starting to see these actors who were a part of them move away and explore movies that are not in the superhero genre, or move away from franchise films and go find these more introspective, challenging, emotionally taxing films that are making a commentary about our society, that are exploring more of our society and our points of views of our society. And so I think that's where you're seeing a lot of actors who are of note moving away from superhero films to go and explore other content. And I think we're going to see a reduction in the number of superhero films going forward. I'm sensing that we're going to see a reduction in the number of we might have a number of superhero TV series, right? I think there's a lot of success on that side. Of course, you have Lanterns coming, just Invincible just finished up. The Boys is coming. And so there's more to come from that superhero wise, but I think theatrically, we're probably going to start to see the reduction of the number of superhero films. And then what fills that void? What is going to be the return of the more adult fare in terms of, adults going through things in life? That's going to be the films that start to retake the mainstream pop culture narrative again, as they did all the way up until 2008 when the superhero stuff started popping off with Iron Man and the Hulk and other things. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I say that because we're going to lead into another story here that essentially explores that as well. So let's do that. I'm going to start actually with that connective tissue, and that's Elizabeth Olsen here for Marvel. And she is quoted here in this interview that she did recently with the Hollywood Reporter. And she was talking about how she's not going to be part of Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars. Elizabeth Olsen the Scarlet Witch will not be, according to her, she is not going to be a part of Joe and Anthony Russo's Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And the first is about to begin shooting. The back-to-back productions are gearing up to shoot in London soon, just as the actress is leaving the UK after filming Sam Esmail's Panic Carefully. She's confirmed to THR that up next for her to shoot is a pilot for the FX series Seven Sisters, which reunites her with filmmaker Sean Durkin. They worked together on Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, and that is being filmed in the US. So that is super interesting that she is not going to come back as Scarlet Witch, not going to come back to be a part of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, some of you may be going, oh, they say that because they don't want to ruin the surprise, and she's probably going to show up, and people are going to be like, wow, this is amazing, she showed up, and blah, blah, blah. But I know that Elizabeth Olsen has had some interesting comments over the last few years about her time in Marvel and about how she felt she was not necessarily treated the best when she was starting out there, and that she had to kind of learn on the fly. And I've had the opportunity to interview Elizabeth Olsen in a group setting. I did an interview for her Facebook series that she had out for a little bit. And I found her to be a very well-spoken, composed, intelligent, softer entity. And I don't mean softer in the sense of like that she's weak or anything like that. I mean softer in the sense that like she's very aware of the world, and she leads with this heart and with this emotion, and she wants to do important things with her career. She's driven by things that excite her, that make a difference in the world. And so I think this is the fascinating part of it all with her. And I'm not surprised to hear her saying this. And I hope it's true, because I'd hate to think that, oh, look, we duped you, she's in it. Because she's made it very clear that this is not necessarily what she be. And the way they fucked her over in Multiverse of Madness by essentially making her the emotional villain of the piece, I thought was insulting as fuck. And I hated that that Raimi and the rest of that crew had not read the WandaVision scripts or had not watched the WandaVision series, and then basically repeated the same fucking arc. And she's made an allusion to how that bothered her, and that she couldn't see what Sam was trying to do because Sam was clearly operating from a place of ignorance about what she had gone through on WandaVision. So when you look at that, and Elizabeth Olsen is an incredibly talented actress. And maybe she feels, because she's like spent 7 years, I think, doing this stuff with Marvel, like she was being taken away from other projects. And she says in the THR, like reading the script for The Lobster, which she couldn't do because she was stuck with doing Marvel stuff. There is a sense of competition. You know, you can't forget that either within actors and actresses. We're like, hey, I see Honora, I see Mikey Madison at 25 winning Best Actress. I see these other people winning awards, and I'm just as good, if not better, than any of these people. But I'm not working in those films that could get me the awards because I'm doing all this Marvel stuff. And so it's no surprise. And this has always been the flip side of the coin. It's been amazing, the level of actors that Marvel has been able to bring into the fold to play main characters or ensemble characters or supporting characters. It's been amazing, including recently bringing in Harrison Ford, who I never thought I'd ever see in a superhero film, playing the Red Hulk. Yeah, you can argue the results of the film overall, but like, it's pretty incredible. You know, Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen, this is an incredible actress to be a part of this stuff. Chadwick Boseman, Lupita Nyong'o. These are phenomenal actors outside the world of Marvel with quite a reputation of being exceptional in independent films, in medium level films, you know, and really bringing a lot of pathos and emotion and levels and complexity to their performances. So for me, eventually those actors are going to want to do other things. They're going to want to spread their wings. They're going to want to do more. Tom Holland, I know, wants to do more than just Spider-Man for the rest of his life. And he's going to, you know, locking this down one more time. And I think after this series of films and this contract, he's never going to play Spider-Man again. Maybe come back 20 years later. Maybe he'll do Spider-Man Reign, for those of you who know that one. But he's another actor who probably sees himself as a potential Oscar winner and wants to do more and be challenged by more. And he sees Zendaya, who is clearly moving into her own status as someone to be reckoned with herself, because I thought she was exceptional in Challengers, and sees, hey, man, I need to get out and start doing more of this stuff. So I think that's what we're going to see, is more and more actors kind of being exhausted by the superhero stuff and wanting to go off and do other things. And so we'll see how that all plays out, but I'm not surprised. Another element of Marvel we should talk about here is the situation going on with Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers, because it feels like things are starting to maybe get a little frayed. According to Daniel RPK, he was reporting that Kevin Feige will be, quote, more hands-on than ever with Doomsday. They claim that Feige has concerns about the Russos directing the next two Avengers films. However, at this stage, replacing them isn't an option, so he plans to closely oversee the projects, ensuring the script is just right and everything stays on track. So this is fascinating. When you look at the Russo brothers and the debacle, their careers have been outside of the Marvel universe. And with that just absolutely horrendous Electric State, which I finally finished a few days ago, and you look at all the other things they've done, again, outside of the Marvel universe, it can make you question what's going to happen here. You're only bringing back one of the writers. Kevin Feige says he's going to be even more hands-on than ever. So maybe that kind of freedom that they were used to working with before and the trust that they had from Kevin Feige isn't necessarily going to be the case now for them. So what does that mean for them going forward? What does that mean for the end result of the movie? That's going to be real interesting to see. And I just have a feeling that this has a chance to go really well. And we just go, you know what? The Russos are gold inside of Marvel, and their cubics are they're coal. They're coal outside of Marvel, but they're gold inside of Marvel. Or this is micromanaged to hell, and the end result feels like an old athlete trying to recapture their golden years, and they can't do it anymore. So it's very possible that that's the route this goes. I'm not predicting that it will go, but you can't rule it out considering what we just saw in Electric State. If this is their instincts, and look, I know Netflix probably let them free to do whatever they want to do, but I mean, Feige has had some mistakes. He's had some missteps recently. So you can't say he's got this clean record. So it could be that both Feige has been there too long and the Russo brothers have lost their mojo as directors, and they're coming together to do a film, and it could be a debacle. Now, the one person I haven't mentioned is this person here, because we don't know how much Robert Downey Jr. is going to be involved in the creation of this movie. We know he's been a producer. We know he's done all those things, but like, is RDJ going to be another cook in the kitchen for these movies? And his producer wife, who's an incredibly brilliant producer, will she be brought in to be a low-key consultant on all of this? So will there be a lot of cooks in this kitchen? And will other actors get a little bit upset, especially the ones who've been holding the fort down for the last few years? Will they be upset if this all becomes about Robert Downey Jr.? And will there be some kind of like, jealousy, some envy, some friction on sets? And when you look at these scripts and maybe the changes that'll be made, that'll focus more on RDJ than them. This is very similar, if I can make a connection, to the WWE and WrestleMania. Every year, the young studs, female and male, in the WWE, there's always someone who comes out in an interview and gets upset that they're bringing back old wrestlers to be a part of the narratives for WrestleMania. And they're doing that because they want to get as many people to watch WrestleMania as possible. That's why you're seeing Cena back with The Rock, which I think is so tired, is because they want to get the general interest of the casual wrestling lovers to come see it. And I think the same thing could apply here, where these actors who've been working hard to build phase 4 and 5 of the MCU without RDJ, now they have to cater to RDJ again, or for the first time, and their stories get like maybe not that well fleshed out, or they become just ensemble pieces in the overall story. It's going to be real curious, because from Chris Evans is supposed to come back, but will this be the same Chris Evans balance with RDJ? Will it be Tony Stark versus, or Robert, Dr. Doom, Tony Stark, whatever he's going to be called in there, versus Steve Rogers, the old Steve Rogers, timeline Steve Rogers? I don't know. But is it going to be trying to rehash the good times when the franchise itself has moved on? That is going to be real curious to see. And how actors react to that, I think, is going to be a real important thing to monitor. Because actors have pride. Actors believe in their abilities. Yeah, for all the insecurities and all the stuff you see sometimes, I'm just happy to be here. There's a very strong undercurrent underneath that insecurity that is a belief in themselves and their talent and their ability to do things that they can do as actors. And so if you start to push them aside, or kill them, which I think is a very real possibility, that Kevin Feige is going to start culling the Marvel universe in order to go into the new phases, I think that's going to be an issue. And if the movie comes out and it's not good, or it's at best a C-level movie, a middling movie, oh man, all these actors are going to start going on these interviews and making these little passive-aggressive comments and making these little asides. All of that is very possible in this situation. So I think it's going to be curious to see what happens here. What's going on? Is there something going on here? Block him and move on. All right. What's going on here? Are people having problems? Okay. Guys, try to keep it. We're talking about movies here and all this kind of stuff. So let's not move over to do any of this stuff. So let's keep it chill. Don't get into fights with each other, for God's sake. So come on, let's calm it down. I don't want to have to block some people, man. We're having good times here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I would not be surprised. And I bet a lot of these actors were not necessarily happy to hear that RDJ was coming. Yeah, they'll publicly say they were happy. But I bet a lot of them were probably not too happy that he was coming back and that it was going to be focused on him. He's going to be Doctor Doom, the main baddie, and or if they were excited, they might not be as excited when they see how reduced their roles are going to be in these massive films full of so many characters. Oh, and by the way, Fantastic Four is being added. Oh, and by the way, maybe some of the X-Men are being added. There's going to be more characters to be involved in this. So it's going to be real interesting. So, all right, there we go. That's what we're going to see. And one last thing on Marvel before we get to these Streamlabs and Super Chats is that Kristen Ritter chimed in here. She was asked on CBS this morning about returning as Jessica Jones, and the momentum seems to be building. She says, listen, I love Jessica Jones. I think it's so exciting that there seems to be such an appetite to see her again. I get asked about it almost every day. We remain cautiously optimistic. If they asked me, I would be there ready. I would be there ready. I may or may not have the jacket that I stole from the set. So very funny commentary there from her. But like, you look at this situation. I mean, I think Jessica Ritter is fine for Jessica Jones on the Netflix show. I don't know necessarily that Jessica Jones is a theatrical jump, right? We don't see Kristen Ritter do a lot of theatrical stuff. Certainly very good on the small screen with the things that she's been a part of, including Jessica Jones, Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 and other things. She's a very talented actress, good voiceover actress as well. But I don't know if she's the Jessica Jones they want if they're going to go theatrical with a Daredevil universe. I don't know. I mean, right now we have 2 seasons of Disney Plus Daredevil, which of course is 2 episodes tonight. But I don't know necessarily if they're not going to recast these roles, like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones for the theatrical universe. I mean, Charlie Cox certainly will stay as Daredevil, but I think it's going to be real curious to see what ends up happening. And a lot of people want to see Jessica Jones. And maybe she already knows that she's going to come back. Maybe she'll come back in Secret Wars, like, a few scenes in Secret Wars. The Defenders get together with a new Iron Fist and handle business there in Secret Wars. It's very possible. But I don't know if I see her coming back full time to be a huge part of the Marvel universe necessarily. So, but look, people love that show. People loved her in it. So I'm not surprised she gets asked about it every day, and she'll probably keep talking about it forever. Yeah, for sure. All right, so there we go. That's the subjects for the show. Thanks to everybody who's joined me here. We're going to get into the Streamlabs and Super Chats here as we wrap up the show. So I'm going to take a drink, though, because I'm very, very parched right now. But reminder to please subscribe to the channel down below and hit that bell button. Hit the like button as well. And share this on your social media. I also have the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network, where all the audio from the shows live, except for the Hot Mic and the Geek Buddies. Everything else we do on this channel lives on the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network. So would love for you guys to subscribe to that as well and download the shows. Be very helpful to overall promoting and pushing the Outlaw Nation brand. So thank you. And you can follow me at the Rocha Says, you see above my head there, on all the social medias, including Blue Sky. So, all right. Dennis Hoffman says, don't know how Frosty, but always felt like a yes man for access. Some of the interviews he's done, King Berg and Tim Miller, have been assing at its finest. Oh yeah. Listen, Frosty is not a good, Steve Weintraub. That's who we're talking about from Collider. He is not a strong interviewer. He's not a strong writer. But he started the website. He became successful starting the website. So he kind of gets to do what he wants to do. And he's built relationships all over town. And certainly ValNet has turned Collider into a website that has a big footprint in the entertainment industry. Something that Mark Fernandez couldn't do with Collider. ValNet has come in and done it. And certainly you see Collider being quoted all the time on all the movies and whatever, and in way larger numbers than they were before, right? So in that way, ValNet has done its job. But Frosty, is going to hold on with those black fingernails of his to his baby to the end of time, just for his own ego stroke, because he gets to interview these people. But I can't tell you how many people text me or DM me after they go to his Comic-Con presentations and tell me how terrible he was as a moderator, how terrible he is as an interviewer. You've seen him be ridiculed as an interviewer so many times. And he's not the strongest writer, yet he tells people how to be better writers. So he's manufactured and built, and he's like the J-Lo of movie punditry. Like he's occasionally good, but most of the time it's middling at best. So yeah, but you know, he worked the system, got into a position early on when this stuff was blowing up, and now he's there. JB says, glad to hear you and Winston are bring the tequila back. We are, yes. We had the conversation earlier today for about 20 minutes, hammering down what we want the show to be. I'll be reaching out to some people for some new graphics and a new intro, a video intro. So hopefully we'll have something really fun when we come back on the, I think it's the 8th of April. So that'll be a lot of fun. And that'll be Tuesday nights. That's kind of the plan at this point. So look for that soon. Cowboy Fan 92, what's up, brother? He says, hi, John. Evening from Texas. Well, good evening. John, I don't care where people fall politically or casting-wise, but being super racist towards any actor or actress is uncalled for on any level because it's about acting. Oh, yeah, I know. I've seen these anti-woke, not all of them, but I've seen some of these anti-woke people indulge in their racism, indulge in their sexism, simply because they're upset about what someone said on a red carpet. I mean, like, honestly, the level of vitriol and pearl clutching and shrieking that I've seen from some of these supposedly adult people on the anti-woke side about Rachel Zegler is just mind-blowing. You know, I mean, who knew that so many of these people cared about Snow White, the classic Snow White, so much? But, you know, whatever. People are going to manufacture stuff so they can make money off of it, and it is what it is. And I'm sure they'll make fun of me for saying the stuff that I said here on the show, but, you know, it is what it is. But I just don't find that to be something that's believable or worth paying that much attention to in that way. But yeah, I've seen the horrible comments like brown white or snow brown, like snow brown. I mean, that's just the level of racism there is just horrific and stupid. It's just ignorant, really. At the end of the day, it's ignorant, and they all snicker about we made a funny joke, and it's just like, you're idiots. You're a bunch of idiots for saying that stuff. Cowboys fans, and secondly, if you don't agree with her views, just don't give the products, the films, and TV that they are in or have created your support. And that's what happens for sure. But Cowboys fan, there are people who make money off this, and that's the thing, you know, and that's really what drives a lot of what they do. They make money off of it. Other people don't care. Like, if they don't like a person, they just won't go listen to the thing. They won't spend time watching it or anything like that, but they're not going to jump on social media and lose their fucking minds. You know, that takes a certain kind of person that wants to do that about, something like Snow White or Rachel Zegler making a comment. Look, I didn't think the comments were right. They're not good comments. I didn't like what she said. I thought it was foolish to say that stuff about the classic film and piss off the people who love the classic film. But by the same token, I also think there aren't this many adult men who are that obsessed with Snow White and the original Snow White that they'd be this upset by Rachel Zegler's comment. So it's a little bit fabricated for money and for views and engagement and clicks and likes and Patreon support. Simon Section says, John, wondering if you're going to see Magazine Dreams. Yeah, saw it last Thursday. Enjoyed it. In certain scenes, I did think about you only because you are a YouTuber and you can squat more than me. Oh, please. Back in the old days, I could. Back in the old days, Johnny Boy could lift, son. I think my deadlift was 425 pounds back in the old days. I think that was the highest I ever deadlifted. Right? Yeah, I think so. But as for the other stuff, man, there was a time. Not so much anymore because I've gotten older and I don't lift as much as I used to. But yeah, there was a time. Do I still have that thing? I don't know if I have it. Maybe not. Maybe it's too late to. Oh, here it is. Okay, well, hold on. Let me see if I can share this to myself. Yeah, let me see if I can. I don't know if it's big enough. All right. So since you mentioned it, and I just happened to find this the other day. And again, in no way am I bragging about this because I mean, for God's sakes, it's been a very long time since I've been able to do this. But do I have it? Do I have a way to put this on here? I don't think I do. Yeah. So maybe you know what? Let's just let it be for now. We'll let it be for now. Thank you, Cowboys fan. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Oh, sorry, Simon Section. I appreciate that. Cowboys fan said, "Well, actually, you know what? Let's see if I can." This is so stupid. Again, I am not in any way saying anything at all. But this was me back, I think, in 2011, when I was really at the height of what I could do. In the where is it? I don't know where it went. It's so funny. I don't know where it went. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. Oh, maybe it's back in terms of the time. I don't know. It's weird. I need to delete some stuff off this freaking computer, because there's so much on here in the downloads. I just need to delete so much of it. Maybe I can bring it over from here. Yeah, here we go. All right, let me save it. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me see if this works. I don't know if it'll work, but let me see if this works. Okay, let's see if it works. All right. So, okay, so you asked about it, Simon Section. So I'm going to show you what it was like for Johnny back in the old days. In 2000, I think 2011. And this was, I was at a place called Cave CrossFit. I don't have my deadlift video because I think I lost that one. But I do have my squat. And some of you are going to complain about my technique, and I totally respect that. I don't know if I fully go all the way down, but this is me back 2011. Come on, God! That's right. That's right. Acting the fool right there back in the old days. So yes, that's my jazzercise video. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was the kind of weight I could put up back then. Now, no way, Simon. Those days have passed. It's been almost 14 years or something like that since that day. So yeah, those were the days. But yeah, as you could tell, I still had a paunch around the waist. I still enjoyed the meals, shall we say, the pancakes and the burgers. But that's how big I used to be. And I was 211, 215, like that. And I loved it. I loved CrossFit. I kind of lost my way over the last few years trying to get it back and whatever. So those were the days, man, when you could do that kind of stuff. But yeah, 14 years ago. Calvin says you can still Calvin, you can't even take your daughter. What are you talking about? You can't even take your daughter, man. All right, let's move on to the other questions. Dennis says, excited for the new slate of the channel. Big fan, John. Keep it up. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, brother, man. It's good to hear. You're always positive, brother. You're always sending love and support, and I can't thank you enough. Cowboys fan 92 says, finally, I hope Marvel's PR team are actually watching and hearing Kristen Ritter's comments saying that she's open to returning to play Jessica again if they called her, because this is the second time she has mentioned it. Yeah, she's clearly campaigning for sure, Cowboys fan, and I did mention her comments and read them. So she's clearly campaigning to come back. We'll see if they end up letting her come back, but it's very clear that she wants to come back. So we'll see if they do put it all together and bring all the Netflix people back. Could be a lot of fun for sure. Stephen Turner says, Disney defending Gal more than they ever did for Rachel or even Halle Bailey for the racist attack they got doesn't sit right. Rachel talked about how people sat outside her apartment at one point. At least Rachel can go to the theater and Broadway. That's for sure. Yeah, I didn't know about the people sitting outside her apartment. That's pretty unsettling for sure. But, I don't know what was worked out or what was not worked out between them. So we're not privy to those conversations, Stephen. So we don't know if she rejected any kind of extra security or because maybe she didn't feel good about working with Disney anymore. And so didn't want any help or assistance from them. I don't know. I hear you. I don't know how much they've defended Gal necessarily. I think they provided her security, but I don't think they've defended Gal necessarily. The Halle Bailey situation, I thought, yeah, it's a fair point there, and so, yeah, and a lot of people have called out Star Wars and an extension Disney for not being more vocal about it and protecting the people of color who work under their tent and under their umbrella. So, I always say this, don't get the movies confused with the studio. Disney's movies are not the studio. The studio overall is very cutthroat and brutal. Everyone I was living there for 20 years, and that phrase, I heard it all the time. Never mess with a mouse, because the mouse can be cruel and it can absolutely fuck you over. So, there's the difference, and you have to look at it that way. Thanos was right, says, I'm glad my theater was packed for Cap 4 today. Oh, that's great. I'm happy that it was packed. I got to go see it again. You know what? I'm going to see it this week. I'm committed. I got to go see like 4 movies this week. I want to see Black Bag. I want to see Magazine Dreams, which was, who brought that up? Was that you, Simon Section? Yeah. Magazine Dreams. I want to see that. I want to see Cap 4 again. And there's another one that's, and The Death of a Unicorn. So I have 4 movies to watch this week that I really want to watch. And I think my Monday night shows are going to be like where I do my review. Like I'll take like 30 minutes and review all the current films, keep them to what, 5 to 7 minutes in the reviews and put that up. So we'll see. Stephen Turner says, at least Rachel, I said that already. Sorry, Stephen. Take it or leave it. Says, any chance, even a slim chance, LOL, you think James Gunn might allow Zack Snyder to finish the final 2 DCU movies in animated form? Thanks, Rocha. No. Absolutely zero. I think James and Zack are friends, and I buy that they're friends. I think they've worked together in the past before. And maybe Zack could come in and direct like one of those, maybe a special, if they ever do a Warner Brothers Max special that's connected to the DC universe, maybe even an episode of Lanterns, which would be cool. But I don't think he would ever bring him back to finish off what he was trying to do in animated form. But, I mean, as I hear myself say that, as I read your words, I would love to see it happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see it happen. Especially in animated form, because like it's not canon and they can do whatever he wants. You can bring back the actors to do the voices, which would be a lot of fun. So yeah, maybe. Alan Smithy, what's up, Smithy? Says, yo, Rocha, Nick Frost is Hagrid in the Potter TV series. That's the rumor. What do you think? I love Peg and Frost. I'm into it. Thanks. Yeah, I love that idea. I love Nick Frost. I think he'd be perfect as Hagrid, carrying on the legacy of Robbie Coltrane. Why not? If I can't do it, I think Nick Frost is perfect to do it. He's got the right energy. He's got the right look. He's got the right tenderness. He's got the right kind of vulnerability to play the role. So I think he'd be great as Hagrid. Remember, he was the dad, I think, in Fighting with My Family, and he was great as the dad in Fighting with My Family. And he's always been the one who's the more caring of the two when they are in their movies together, him and Simon Pegg. He's always the one that has the most, which could open the door to Simon Pegg being a part of the Harry Potter universe. I mean, if they're going to redo the books, I think Simon Pegg playing the kind of Kenneth Branagh character makes all the sense in the world. The Wizard of the Dark Arts there, who writes that book about himself, Simon Pegg would kill something like that. So it's very possible. Very possible. But yeah, I love it, Smithy. It's good to see you, brother. I always love seeing you, Smithy. Kyle Wilson says, sometimes I wish Marvel would hold worldwide online casting calls for all new actors, for all characters going forward, and only bring back alumni. Interesting. Sometimes I wish Marvel would hold worldwide online casting calls for all new. That's a lot. That's a lot. I suppose you could wish it in a perfect world. You would do that so everybody gets a shot, a fair shot. And in the end, I mean, it's always going to be subjective. So you're going to get a fair shot, but it doesn't mean you might not get the job in a fair, or you might not lose, you might not get the job, and it might not be in the fair way that you don't get the job. So, because it's all subjective. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. Bring back alumni for maybe smaller roles. For cameos when thematically needed. What say you? Yeah, it's a good point, Alex, or Kyle rather. The idea of bringing back alumni just for cameos, that could be fun, of course. Great little Easter eggs or winks or nods to people who enjoy the old stuff. So it would be fun to see. I don't disagree with you on that end. So yeah, it's a good point. But there's no way Disney could do that because the time and the money that they would spend, especially at a time now where Iger wants to cut costs, I think it'd be very, very impossible for that to happen. But in a perfect world, sure, why not? I'm in. Alex Ruelas says, have you seen the Alto Nights yet? Bro, I don't want to see Alto Nights. I'm going to wait for that to come on streaming. Listen, the reviews have been horrible, and I love my boy Bobby D, but I don't want to see him in a bad movie, and I certainly don't want to see Deborah Messing miscast in a gangster film. Get the fuck out of here. So I'll watch it on streaming when it comes, and she probably will be here in 2 weeks, for God's sakes. So, but yeah, no, that's not my cup of tea. Not something I'm gonna put myself through. Myself personally. So, but yeah, but if you saw it, let me know what you thought. Brooklyn, what's up, Brooklyn? Says, hey, John, just wondering if you'd seen the movie The Menu. I just saw it for the first time the other week, and I thought it was great. Yeah, I saw it on Max when it first premiered on Max because I had missed it in the theaters. Good movie. I enjoyed it. Really great stuff from Ray Fiennes and Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy, who I thoroughly love and just about everything that she's in. Although I haven't seen The Gorge yet. I need to watch The Gorge. Let me add that. 5 movies this week. But yeah, I enjoyed that film. Nice, clever twist in the film as well. Although I kind of saw it coming, it still was a clever twist that I enjoyed in the movie itself. And I thought it was really well directed. So yeah, glad you enjoyed it, brother. Fred says, Fantastic says, I've seen Cap 4 5 times now and never got bored. Wow, Fred. Respect, Fred. You really like the film. Hey, man, we all got the things we like. Ain't nothing wrong with that. 5 times, man. Respect. Trying to keep that thing in the theaters. Played Out says, hey, Rocha, I'm a vet as well. At least our CIC didn't go all the way down to see a guy like Putin eye to eye. Well, yeah. Man, today was rough. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but watching those Senate hearings and watching people, what I think, lie under oath. I'm not accusing them of lying under oath. It's just my belief. That was really hard. And that just shows you that if they did lie under oath, and my belief is that they did, it shows you how little they care about a system of checks and balances, how little they care about repercussions or punishment for this colossal mistake. And it was a mistake. No matter how much the right-wingers or MAGA people try to tell you, it wasn't a mistake. It was a massive mistake. Look, I was in military intelligence. I had top secret clearance for 8 years in the military, or 7 years, I guess, because I had to get to my station there at Fort Meade in Maryland. But I had top secret clearance. The level of stuff you have to do in order to first qualify and keep qualifying, by the way, because they keep every year you have to qualify. I think it's every year, every 2 years, you have to qualify for your top secret clearance, and they have to interview people and talk to friends and family and all of that. I 7 years I held that top secret clearance I worked with some projects that were connected with the NSA when I was there. And so there was a lot involved in that. So I take a personal interest in something like this because American lives could have possibly been in danger. We still don't know if they've hacked the Signal chat group because one of the people was added while they were in Russia. And Russia's been trying to crack Signal for a while now for our communications. Regardless of how buddy Putin and Trump are, they're still trying to get an advantage on us. And so there's just a lot of mistakes here that to me were heartbreaking as a former military intelligence guy and really unsettling. And it's got nothing to do with politics. If Biden's people had done this, I'd be raking them over the coals and being like, you idiots, the same thing here. And so it's hard. And to see how many people are trying to defend it or blow it off or claim it wasn't people in power who should know better, like Mike Johnson and others. It's just a shame. It just shows you there's no punishment, no consequences, none, absolutely zero. The public has to be the one who does this. If anything's going to stop these people doing the things they're doing, it is the public. So we'll see. Wiley says, how are you, Rocha? I'm good. Wiley, how are you? How are things? How's your life? How is the world? Let me know, man. Good to see you. Thank you. All right. Is that everybody? Yeah, that's all the Streamlabs, all the super chats. Let's hit the Streamlabs here before I wrap up. Fratastic says, hey, Rocha, did you see Jane Daniels' mom cock blocking him the other night? Don't be messing with mama's baby. Yeah, and then Juju went and twisted her ankle. Tore her ACL. So did his mom have some voodoo stuff or some magic stuff or some potions there that mess with Juju? I hope not. But yeah, I mean, that was a hilarious situation. But I mean, two people, what's wrong with two people, flirting around, and two young people who are incredible athletes who probably are one of the select 1% who can understand what that life is like. I mean, nothing wrong with them talking and shooting the shit. They're both adults, over 18. Fred said, I would love to see Pascal and Heyman bring over Simon Pegg's character from the MI universe and incorporate him into 007 as another 00 or as a weapons analyst. Yeah, I don't think that would work at all. I mean, I think they could bring Simon Pegg in, but I don't think he'd be the character from the Mission Impossible universe. But it would be fun to see him in that. They're certainly going to need some kind of comedic relief. I mean, Ben Whishaw was kind of that for the Daniel Craig films as it went along. So, yeah, maybe Simon Pegg could be Q, the new Q, if they're going to go with a whole new recast. We will see. Doug Development, what's up, Doug? Says, as a person of color, I understand the dissatisfaction with race swapping. However, it's frustrating seeing people online who would springboard that rage into calling any content with original characters of color woke. See Ms. Marvel and Blue Beetle. Yeah, and also see the reactions to people for Ironheart. I mean, I retweeted that discussing film post with Riri Williams there as Ironheart, and the reaction, she's the character Riri, the reactions that I read there were just jaw-dropping. I mean, the ignorant reactions, and I don't mean ignorant just beyond the fact that you were racist, but ignorant in that not knowing this is an actual character in the Marvel comic books and that she's not going to be replacing Tony Stark. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. We used to be like open to seeing what these creatives could make, right? But once being anti-woke became a cottage industry, now all these people have started these YouTube channels or have been working at these YouTube channels all along. And so they're invested in looking for anything that remotely screams anti-woke, and then they'll use it to make their money and do whatever. So it's disingenuous, but there are a lot of people who are invested in that disingenuousness, and so they're willing to give the money, so they're going to keep going with that. So it's a shame. Doug also says, the old tired, quote, anti-woke playbook, find a financially successful film like Top Gun Maverick and say it wasn't woke. Oh, that film was so woke. While ignoring a woke film like Barbie. Find a bomb like Snow White, blame it on the wokeness while ignoring other bombs like Flight Risk. Yeah, right. Which was an all-white cast of MAGA people like Wahlberg and Gibson. And it sank like a stone. But yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, of course. It's always moving the goalposts conveniently. That is the foundation of MAGA. Always moving the goalposts conveniently to fit whatever narrative you want to tell. And yeah, Top Gun Maverick was not woke in any way. It was just a damn good movie that appealed to everybody. It was woke in some ways. It was military in other ways, but overall, it was about atoning for past mistakes and growing from those mistakes and finding love again in a different way and finding the confidence within yourself again to forgive yourself. It's a very powerful film. And helping a young man overcome his own issues, his father issues, and his need to find his own voice and feet. All of that is within the film. But the crew of people who are part of his crew are a diverse group of people, including Monica Barbaro. So, and the two guys who were in charge of the program was John Hamm and that older black actor who were a part of it. So this idea that it's not woke is just the dumbest thing in the world. I am Too Fly Cam also says, Rocha, sending support. Thank you. Do you think there'll be any fallout from the Signal War Plans group chat? Yes. It's such a circus in DC. Will anyone notice in 2 days? Also, what percentage do you have on seeing Batman 2? Can Gunn and Reeves coexist? Yes, Gunn and Reeves coexist because they're professionals. But I won't say shit about the Batman 2 until Superman comes out. Or rather, I won't know or have a percentage until the Batman 2 comes out, because that's when you're really going to see what's going on here. Yeah, and if there'll be a if there'll be a two, the Batman Part 2, or if Batman is going to be essentially weaved into James Gunn's universe. So I think that's when I'm going to have more of an idea of what's going on with it. But right now, I don't think. I'm trying to make this more blue. There we go. Right now, I don't think that's a. I don't think we know overall. And yeah, I think there's certainly going to be fallout, but it all depends on what happens in these committees. It all depends on how they answer these questions, which I think a lot of them were not being truthful. I mean, the head of the CIA should not be saying, "I don't recall." That is ridiculous. You're the head of the CIA. There's a lot that was said in those hearings that were just bull. Kash Patel saying like, "Oh, I've just been briefed on this last night. I don't have any investigations." If that had been a Biden thing, Kash would have launched an investigation last night. So it's just like there's convenient stuff. They're trying to wait this out. They're trying to blow it off. If you saw Trump at his cabinet meeting today, Tim Waltz, who was the person who was targeted as the person who texted the reporter and got him into the chat, he was claiming that it was that it wasn't real and that it might be a hoax, and it just was. They're trying every excuse they can to try to find the right one that gets people to move on. But I think as long as the Democrats and other Republicans, like Don Bacon, was interviewed and said it was ridiculous, the lies they're telling to try to claim that the stuff wasn't classified, that these weren't war plans. It's just a shame that so many people are invested in lying about this. In my opinion, I believe they're lying. That they would do it under oath, which is, of course, you're supposed to swear to God, the person they claim to worship so much. And they're doing it all just to keep their jobs and keep President Trump in power. And that's unfortunate, because I don't think it's a bipartisan. I don't think it's a political issue. I think it's a bipartisan issue. American lives were at stake, and American lives could have happened. And people are like, wow, nothing happened. Why are you making us such a big deal? You know what? When I tell my child, I don't have a child, but if I was a parent and I told my child not to go do something, and they're like, well, after they'd done it, to tell them not to do it again, and they're like, well, nothing happened. Do I, as a parent, go, well, you're right, nothing happened. I guess go on and keep doing it. Or, well, that's fine. I guess let's move on. No, you tell them, don't do it again. You're stupid for doing it. Why did you do this thing? You're grounded. And that's what should be happening here. But I don't think Trump's going to let it happen. I think Johnson's not going to let it happen. So Tim Waltz is going to have to fall on his sword, which I don't think he will. And then that's going to be that, But I hope the Democrats find now this, and other Republicans. I want to make sure bipartisan people find that, it's time to start calling this stuff out and pulling the reins on this. Fred says, Rocha, the live action remakes from Disney automatically carry a burden of hate with them. Some do well, like Aladdin, and others tank hard. The one consistent is they all draw complaints before they're even released. That's true. They all get complaints. Yes, 100%. 100%. They all get complaints. Aladdin got complaints. People were so upset that Robin Williams, and there was race swapping complaints on that one as well. How can you replace Robin Williams with a black comedian? Like, there was even though Will is about the safest comedian you'll find, safest black comedian you'll find that appeals to white audiences. But yeah, that was a part of it as well. But yes, they're always battling up. Mufasa made 719 million. Lion King made 1.6. So it all depends, but not all the live actions work, certainly. Samo, what's up, Samo? Says, thoughts on a movie theater in Miami facing threats of the mayor there shutting it down because it showed the Oscar-winning movie No Other Land. That is nonsense. Should we be concerned about the future of film and their way to express free speech and important issues? Yeah, I think we should absolutely be concerned. It is very clear that there are certain sections of the country who want to control our speech, who want to control what we talk about, what content we distribute, what content we put out there, what topics we explore and talk about. It's not a coincidence that the administration is taking away hundreds of millions of dollars of grants and loans to these colleges that are bastions of intelligence, bastions of how can I say this? Not bastions. What do I want to say? They're colleges that are very well known and have a history of producing free thinkers, intelligent thinkers, people who challenge the norm, people who want to change society for the better. Place like Columbia, there's a lot of people involved in that, and all these other universities, and they'll claim that it's because of these anti-Semitic protests, which I haven't commented on either side of that thing because I don't. That's a centuries long battle, and anybody telling you that they can simply talk about it is insane. There are so many things that are involved in it. So, but I think they're using that as cover to implement their plans to try to cut education from universities that have naturally leaned progressive or leaned left, and they're trying to undercut that side. And it's no longer a democracy at that point. It's a dictatorship. And certainly a movie theater in Miami, the mayor threatening not to show a film, I think is ridiculous. I understand why, because there's a lot of Jewish citizens in Miami, but I also think, isn't no other land about like Palestinians and Jewish people coming together to see what's going on and try to find a peaceful way out? So, and of course the co-director was attacked and beaten, and I think he's been released or whatever. So, it's just a shame. There's so much anger out there now in the world and everywhere, man. It's really hard to find places to kind of just relax and it's why I find myself staying home more and more. I don't want to go out there, man. Like, honestly, it's where we live is a really nice place. It's very chill, what have you, but you never know what's going to happen. You never know what person who's a nefarious actor who wants to come in and do shit. You just never know. So, Mike McKenzie, what's up, Mike? Says Rocha, did you see Adolescence? I saw it, and holy shit, it's mind-blowing. No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see if I can talk the Lady Outlaw into starting it tonight. We'll see, but no, I haven't seen it yet. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Fred says, I know everyone is focused on Peter seeing Dr. Doom, RDJ for the first time, but what about Happy Hogan, Pepper, and Morgana when they first see him? Yeah, agreed, man. Agreed, especially Pepper. Like, what's Pepper's reaction going to be? Certainly Morgana with I Love You 3000 and Happy, but what is Pepper going to react like? And the question is, does he have a Pepper? Does he have a Happy? Does he have a Morgana in his universe? I don't know. It's going to be curious to see what we're going to get when that comes down. All right, we got a few more of these super chats. Sorry, guys. Kyle Wilson, what's up, man? This is, in a perfect world, what MCU character would you audition for to play for 5 to 7 years? And who would you want to work with? Ooh, good question. What MCU character would I audition for to play? Well, if I could get back in shape, real like military shape, I would love to play an older Wolverine. I mean, I love that character. That's like my favorite Marvel character ever. I would love to take the place of Hugh Jackman for 5 to 7 years, although it would be very difficult with all the stuff I've said about Ryan Reynolds and that whole lawsuit. So, but I would love to play it 5 to 7 years, Wolverine. And I don't know. It's a good question. Who would I want to work with? I mean, this is tough because there's so many fantastic actors that are not in the Marvel universe that I don't know that I can't. I mean, I would have said Charlize Theron at the right off the bat, but Charlize just got put in with Multiverse of Madness. But that's an actress that I would love. I mean, I think Mikey Madison. I would love to work with Mikey Madison now that she's gotten the Oscar. Or Demi, you could bring Demi Moore in. But yeah, good question, bro. Good question. Good question. I think Wolverine is my choice, though. Chris Corcoran says, I've seen way more support for Rachel after this article dropped, especially from those supporting Palestine. She's not nearly as hated as people thought. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's very clear that she had a reason for what she was doing. She made a decision and she stuck by it, and she wasn't going to let anyone talk her out of it. And so you have respect for people who stand their ground. You really do. As crazy as some people find Trump, and certainly as unsavory as people find Trump, and certainly I do, you can't argue that the man doubles down, triples down, quadruples down on his points of views on stuff, and people gravitate to that kind of strength. They really do. They don't shy away from it. They gravitate to it. They like it. It gives them security because so many people feel insecure in their lives. So the fact that Rachel is willing to use her platform in a certain way to highlight certain issues and take the hits, that gets her respect for the people that feel the way that she does about these issues. So I'm not surprised, Chris. Michael Baldwin says, you're the producer. Would you hire Rachel Zegler? It depends on the project. I absolutely would hire Rachel Zegler, but it depends on the project. And we would have to have a conversation. Like, what are you like? Here's the deal. If you want to come on the film, I need you to not do this because I need the film to be successful. Now, if the film is tackling that topic, that political topic, then 100% say whatever you want. Say it to your heart's content. And I know I'm going to get you a good director, and I know you're going to make a great film. So we'll at least have that side of it covered. And if people don't come. They don't come. But it won't be because we didn't put together a damn good movie and made all the effort to show you what the point of view of the movie was. So that's the kind of how I would look at it, Michael. Thanks for the question, bud. $9 R says Winston on the it's corniest quarterback room ever. Yeah. Winston, and DeVito. That's a terrible ambulance chasing New York law firm. So good luck with that, Giants. Of course, they'll probably end up beating my Commanders at least once this year. But yeah, it's a horrible quarterback room. I mean, horrible. Russo was losing it in the last 5 games of the season. Jameis is a walking interception machine. And I had to stop watching Hard Knocks because I just couldn't watch them. Jameis go, my bad, on repeat through multiple episodes. It just broke my heart because Jameis was my quarterback at Florida State. Or his quarterback I loved at Florida State when we won the national championship, right? I mean, I wasn't at Florida State when they won, but I went to see I watched that whole season. That's a magical season for me. I had a bunch of Florida State friends. We're all still friends, obviously, but like we would get together and watch every Saturday, every Florida State game. And then we went to see the game at the Rose Bowl. So I got to see my alma mater win the national championship in thrilling fashion with a Jameis Winston throw. So I think Kelvin Benjamin there. And it was incredible. So, but he's way past it. So is Russell. It's going to be a rough quarterback room for sure. I feel bad for Malik Neighbors, man. Is that the receiver? I feel bad for him. Fred Tastic says MAGA wears hypocrisy like the Iron Man suit because they know no criminal investigations will be brought. The Rocha rules. Yeah, you're right, Fred. It's true. They do. And thank you. I appreciate that. But yes, they do. And that's why they say all the nonsense they said. Even today, that stuff they were saying there in the cabinet room, I thought was ridiculous. It's all deflect, never take responsibility, never admit you were wrong. And then if Tim does fall on his sword, they'll be like, it's horrible what the public did to him. He is an amazing soldier for our administration. How dare they? And it'll make them even more adamant to push through their stuff to try to control the public even more, which is just sad. Sketchcraft, what's up? I love that avatar you have there. It says, appreciate the show, John. I think you meant Michael Waltz, not Tim Waltz. Can't wait for Andor season 2 right now for the time we are. You're right. Yes, Michael Waltz. Sorry. Right, not Tim Waltz. Tim Waltz is the who ran for vice president, right? So it's my apologies. Yeah, Michael Waltz. Sorry, guys. So yeah, Michael Waltz falling on his sword. Yeah, we'll see. But can't wait for Andor season 2. Right, exactly. I submitted for the episodes from Andor, so hopefully I will be getting them soon. And looking forward to it, seeing if I can get them. So we'll see. Kyle Wilson says Canadian accent. No, I'm from the U.S., man. I was born in Philly. I don't have a Canadian accent. I can't even do the Canadian accent, so don't even ask me to do the Canadian accent. That would be insulting to Canadians. Please don't ask me to do the Canadian accent. Let's see. Anybody else? Is that everything? Yes, it is. Thank you all. If I missed anybody, let me know right now. But I think I've gotten everybody's questions. And I should wrap up the show because I got to go get me some dinner. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you. Well, over 200 of you hanging out with me through the questions and the Streamlabs super chats, but almost 300 of you hanging out for a majority of the show. Thanks so much. Just a quick reminder, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell button. Leave your comments on all the topics I talked about. I will be doing time codes here in the next hour. I'm going to go get some food first or make some food first, and then I'll chill out. But thank you all so much. I love you. I appreciate you. It's always humbling that you're willing to take the time to hang out with me on the Outlaw Nation and do these live shows because I want to do more of them, and having people show up to support it and people show up in large numbers, I think it means a lot for me. So I appreciate that, madly. Oh, Simon Section, one more. He says, If you see Magazine Dreams, I hope you will have a spoiler talk. Need your education about a certain scene. Also, Magazine Dreams reminds me of another film starring Jack Black. What? What? Was Jack Black a weightlifter in another film? What? Nacho Libre? I don't know which film it would remind you of. That's interesting. Stephanie Litt says, I'm from Minnesota. Talk about pronounced accents. Don't you know? Don't you know? But for my other stuff, please remember we got Geek Buddies tomorrow. We'll do our reviews, spoiler reviews of Daredevil Born Again. We're also going to get into the Jedi. Oh, sorry. I suppose the Jedi Way at some point this week with that new Andor season 2 trailer that dropped. Also, the Hot Mic on Thursday. Some more Geek Buddies on Friday. Some reviews this weekend from me. What else do I have? Oh, and the Cinephiles. For those of you who don't know, I have a podcast that I've been doing for 9 years called The Cinephiles. Me and my director friend, Steve Morris. We average about 150 to 200,000 downloads a month on that show. It's my most successful show that I do, and I'm very proud of it. We are in the season of the Coen brothers. So for those of you who are massive Coen brothers fans, we just started our breakdown of Miller's Crossing. We dropped part 1 last week. We just finished recording part 2 today, so that'll be out on Friday. But if you haven't tried out our podcast, I highly recommend you give it a chance. 9 years of content. We have a website you can go through. You can go on Apple or wherever you download podcasts and look us up, the Cinephiles, CINE-FILES, and look up and see any of the movies that you might enjoy, and listen to us break it down scene by scene and talk about it. And so it's a show I'm very proud of. So if you want to enjoy a much more relaxed Rocha, a much more analytical Rocha, an intellectual Rocha, then please head on over to the Cinephiles and listen to Steve and I break down some of the great, great films of the last 60 years. So great stuff there. All right. Thank you all so much. Love you madly. Be well. Take care of yourselves. And remember what I say at the end of every one of these live shows. Whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next day, next week, next month, next year, please make sure you do so. Look, it's crazy out there. I know it's crazy out there. I certainly have to stop myself from doom scrolling sometimes. I could only watch about an hour and a half of the hearings today. I have to keep it chill. I am scared. I am nervous. I worry for my mother who is not with me. She's in another state. I worry about it. But you got to take it day by day, step by step, find your way to get through it. Find your peace in your way to get through it, because that's going to help you be level-headed if anything starts to happen around you. So it's really important. And people, we need you, man. This world is crazy. Don't quit on this world, because we need you. So do what you need to do what you can. Use your techniques, use your tools to get through the tough days, the tough moments, because we need you around. This is a tough world, and we need fighters, and we need people who are willing to fight for the right things. And so just putting that out there for you all. I love you. And I respect you all madly. And thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on the Outlaw Nation. And I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the Nation here on the channel. Peace until then.